Welcome to the Stochastic NBA Deeper Dive. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Ship My Money Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by Underdog. We'll talk about Underdog a little bit more later on. While you're coming in, please like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Adam, we talked about the slate this morning. We haven't really gotten any known injury news, but we've gotten some updates. Like Luka is now questionable. Little bit, I mean, that could be a huge thing that has changed on this slate, obviously, but currently it's still a lot of unknowns. We don't have a ton of knowns since the show that we did this morning. Has anything changed from a macro perspective in your thought process on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, so Evan Mobley got confirmed out. Durant was ruled out since this morning. So those are the two changes. But for the most part, it's just been a lot of on the show this morning, it was we don't have an injury report. I think these guys are probably going to be listed as questionable when we do have an injury report. And then the teams are like, oh yeah, by the way, these guys are questionable. And we still don't know anything. Fortunately, the big team is still Dallas, where Luka, as you mentioned, is questionable. Derrick Jones Jr. is questionable. Grant Williams is out, Grant Williams is back, but Luka questionable, Derrick Jones Jr. questionable, Tim Hardaway questionable. Fortunately, that is a 7:30 game, so we will probably have that news. It is the NBA, so there's always some chance you don't, I guess, but we should have that news when the slate starts.
Yeah, that is helpful that we should at least theoretically have that stuff before the slate starts. Steven says Neil doing NBA. Do you guys not remember that I was on Live Before Lock the last 3 months of last season? I have not been doing it a ton this season other than Saturday nights, but happy to do it. Happy to fill in occasionally for the NBA until after the NFL season. Maybe I'll get to fill in a little bit more at that point. All right.
I mean, somebody on this show within the last month asked who I was. So I think people just have short attention spans.
That is insane. You do it. You're like every show. How could you watch our NBA stuff and not know who Adam is? Yeah, that is nuts. All right. Well, we are going to go game by game for this show. We will have Live Before Lock as usual after this. Eric and Greg will be following us. They'll hopefully have all of the injury notes. Hopefully we'll get some of it during the show, but for now we're just going to have to work with the info we have. First game of the slate, we're going to do it again, Adam. Cleveland and Boston. As you said, I guess we do have the new news with Evan Mobley being confirmed out. He was questionable this morning. So you're right. We have gotten some change, at least since this morning. At this point, any priorities for you on the Cavs?
I don't really think so. Mobley being out makes the other starters look marginally better. We do still have, I believe I'm pulling the new 5:30 injury report, but Caris LeVert, I believe, Caris LeVert's still questionable. We know Mobley is out. So the Mobley or the LeVert piece rather does matter to the extent of how much are the random backup type guys playing. Dean Wade, who has been starting in place of Mobley, George Niang, Isaac Okoro, those guys, how much exactly are they going to play? You expect playing time, particularly probably for all of them, but for Okoro and Niang to lessen if LeVert is back. But Mobley being out does marginally make all the other starters look better. Particularly, I think you can make the case that Jared Allen looks a little bit better because if he does manage to avoid foul trouble and just generally playing like shit, he could get more playing time without Mobley, getting some minutes at the 5. I don't think there's any real impetus to give Tristan Thompson a bunch of minutes if you don't have to. You can make the case that, Strus could play a bit more. Dean Wade can play more, even though he's essentially a fantasy non-factor. But there's nothing, I don't think Mobley being out moves the needle to the extent that anybody went from not a good play to a good play. I think they just all look a little bit better. And it's not helped by the matchup here either. You're playing against one of the best defensive teams, slow-paced team in Boston. I think it's still pretty difficult to really love anything from Cleveland.
Yeah, nothing really stands out from a value perspective. None of these Cleveland guys looking like they're great values. We've got Donovan Mitchell, 4.8x value. Nobody even hitting 5x value on the Cavs. Just a tough game overall. Cleveland at Boston, I don't think it's going to be a huge priority in general. What about Boston for you? Actually, before we get to Boston, Adam, we did get a super chat that I want to read here from our guy, Sean Geezy, who I don't know if you've been on Twitter at all for the past month. Literally every day. I've never seen anything like it. Sean says, Neil, I'm hoping I get to send you another wild screenshot on Twitter tonight. Been a crazy run in NBA. Appreciate you guys as always. I have no idea how you're doing. And Sean said, I said that on Twitter. I said, I have no idea how you're doing this. And he said, yeah, you do. I use the tools. I listen to you guys. I'm like, yeah, I do the same stuff. And I still like, I've never seen anybody win like literally like every other day for the past month. Sean has just been absolutely crushing it. Sometimes multiple contests in the same day. It has been an impressive run for Sean. So
Yeah,
keep it up,
it's
Sean.
I generally wake up, look at Twitter, try and figure out if I said anything the night before that pissed people off, and it's just always another screenshot from him.
Try to figure out if I said anything the night before that pissed people off. Are you saying like you send tweets and then forget that you sent them, or just like you want to see if anybody reacted overnight?
It can be either one. Sometimes I send them and know that I sent them. If I've been out, then a lot of times I'll wake up and be like, "Oh shit, I did send that." Like I thought maybe I just thought it.
Those are fun mornings, I'm sure. Luck, I have not, I don't think, been in that situation, at least not too much. I'm usually pretty good at not drinking and tweeting, I think, in
Yeah, I'm
general.
pretty bad at it. I haven't done it in a while. I haven't been drinking as much in general, so that's helped. I did go out like all day Sunday, a lot longer than I planned on. Didn't tweet anything stupid that I have found, so that was actually surprising.
Congrats. That is very
Yeah,
surprising. Good for you. That's growth, Adam. You're
yeah,
growing up, baby.
exactly.
All right. Second part of this game is the Boston side of it. Still no great values popping out to me. Everybody's healthy, as Steven pointed out in the morning show. They haven't played since Friday. Nobody's injured or anything. No real concerns there. So we don't have any great value here. Any priorities for you on the Celtics?
I wouldn't say priorities. We do have 30% ownership coming into Peyton Pritchard right now, 25% chance of being optimal. That seems aggressive, but he is 3,800. And this slate is weird in that we have value, quote unquote, just because of guys being out and certainly the potential for more of it on Dallas. But we don't have a lot of cheap guys, and we do have a ton to pay up for. So I do think that, and we were seeing it this morning too, some of these cheaper guys like Pritchard at 3,800 that don't really project well still have a decent chance at being optimal. We only have him with a 14.8 DraftKings point projection. And the boom bust tool right now still has him in the optimal lineup a quarter of the time, which is absurd. But it just speaks to how you have guys to pay up for on this slate. You don't have a lot of cheap pieces. So Pritchard's the kind of guy where, if I'm getting there as a value play, fine, but I certainly wouldn't be upset if I'm not getting to a 30% owned Peyton Pritchard. That, again, just seems crazy. It's interesting to me that Pritchard's getting that much ownership and Hauser is only getting 8%. Like, there's a $500 price difference between the two of them. But Hauser's got the better positional eligibility, shooting guard, small forward. We have them projected about the same. So I'm a little bit surprised, not that I want either of them, but if Pritchard's that much of a priority, I'm surprised Hauser's not getting more ownership. But beyond those two guys, the guys that you really, really don't want, any of the starters are okay. None of them look great. Derek White's pulling the most ownership, getting 14% at 6,400. Drew Holiday pulling 11%. I mentioned it this morning that I kind of liked Jaylen Brown as a contrarian play. 7,900, shooting guard, small forward. He's only getting 6% ownership. This morning we had him with like a 12% chance of being optimal. That's now down to 7. So he is one of those guys that, I mentioned it this morning where normally at 10 a.m., if you have a big disparity between optimal percentage and ownership, it's just going to look different by later as we have more information, we've run more stuff. And that's what you've seen here. So I still think Jaylen Brown at 6% owned, 7,900 is fine as a contrarian play, but he doesn't look nearly as good as he did this morning.
Yeah, I think things probably update as like other sites
Right.
projections come out, and then that's going to update our ownership projections once we know how everybody else is projecting things. As I recall, this morning we had Sam Hauser at like 11% ownership, so that has actually come down to the 8% we see now on Sam Hauser. Looks like Hauser and Pritchard project like almost identically, and Hauser is 500 more expensive. So I guess that's why we're getting to, but that's a lot more. 30% ownership going to Pritchard is kind of nuts. I mean, this is like, would you want to avoid that? Like, if you run the Sims and you're getting to 30% Peyton Pritchard, are you going to do anything to avoid that just in hope for, news to come out later where more value is going to open up after lock?
I don't think so, just because I don't really know where it would come from. We already know that Durant is out. Dallas is at the same time as the Boston game. I don't think, like, even if Jamal Murray misses for Denver, I don't think anything crazy is opening up there as far as cheap guys go. Obviously, it'll make some people look better, but it'll be just more of these guys are already priced up. They just look better than they did before. So I just don't really know. Even with the Bulls, like, you have Alex Caruso questionable. If he ends up missing, you're probably just talking about the Sunmu, who's like the same salary. We don't have none of the Clippers guys are questionable. Nobody on the Kings is questionable. So I don't really know where
Yeah.
we're expecting late value to come from.
That's a good point. Like all of the like questionable players right now are starting either at lock or within half an hour of lock. So we'll
Right.
probably have most of the news, at least that we're expecting to get by lock. Have we been getting, do you think we're going to get this Denver, Chicago, the starting lineups before lock?
Um, Probably not. We might get Caruso news before or
Okay.
around lock. I doubt we'll get a starting lineup before like. Oh wait, no, lock's at 7:30, so probably right around lock.
Yeah, it'll be like it's half an hour after lock is when that game starts. So maybe we'll get news for the first three games, and that's basically all of the impactful news that we're still waiting on at this point. Yeah, so hard to know. Hopefully we'll just get some news before lock so we don't feel like we need to play Peyton Pritchard, I guess is what I'm hoping for. Anything else on this first game?
No.
All right, second game on the slate, we've got the Lakers at the Mavericks. Here we have both LeBron and Anthony Davis questionable. We've also got Luka questionable now. Kyrie is already out. So this one is another big one for paying attention to injury news. And as you said already, good thing it does happen at lock, so we don't have to guess at who's going to be in, who's going to be out. We're going to know ahead of time. So let's start with the Lakers side of it. Any priorities for you as things stand now? Any priorities that you think are going to jump out as we get news?
Luka is playing.
Okay. All right. There you
Or
have it.
sorry, Mavs optimistic Luka Doncic will play Tuesday is the actual
Okay.
blurb.
That seems like
So
a probable kind of maybe slightly less than probable that they're optimistic. I don't really know like exactly what to make of them being optimistic, like based on where was the starting point? Is it optimism based on where they were this morning or
right,
because
yeah, it's weird wording because my assumption was kind of more like I kind of just assumed he was going to play, but that it was, like, yeah, assuming nothing's wrong, like he doesn't feel terrible when he gets to the arena, he's going to play. So now them being optimistic, it's like, okay, what's the current conversation right now, and why is he not sure? But
yeah,
obviously, reading that as a good thing, and hopefully he does, because if he's out, this really turns into one of those slates where uh, Dallas just will end up projecting amazing and then letting you down like the last time this all happened. But assuming he's in, he looks really good if you can get there. About 1.65, give or take, DraftKings points per minute in the 5 games that he's played without Kyrie this year. But the big thing is that he's played at least 40 minutes in 4 of those 5 games. He played 32 in a game against Washington, but other than that, he's been 40 plus in 4 of the 5 without Kyrie. He played 44 yesterday, played the entire second half. So you should expect a lot of playing time. You should obviously expect him to produce at a high level. The Lakers have been good defensively this year, but they are also a relatively fast team. I think they're 10th in pace. So he's going to look good. You do have plenty of alternatives around him. You have Jokic up there. You have Devin Booker without Durant. You have Davis and LeBron at cheaper price tags. So that'll keep the ownership in check, at least a little bit, but still going to look good. The Hardaway and Derek Jones Jr. pieces are massive because if those guys are out, you are opening up a lot of minutes for some combination of Grant Williams, Seth Curry, Jaden Hardy, Maxence Prosper, Markieff Morris. Like these guys are going to have to soak up minutes even with Grant Williams being back. If Hardaway and Jones are in, we're still going to be getting to a lot of Dallas, but it's going to be more so, getting whatever Luka you can, probably heavily prioritizing Dante Exum, who is still point guard small forward at 5,700, probably heavily prioritizing Derek Lively, who is 5,600, getting 35% ownership, and then just mixing in some Hardaway, some Jones, some Grant Williams, probably not paying too much attention to Seth Curry or Jaden Hardy. So those two pieces do have massive implications here, not only on the Mavs players specifically, but also on how much you're going to be able to get of other pay up options. Because like we were just saying when we talked about Peyton Pritchard, there's not a lot of cheap value today at the moment. If you open up a $4,600 Hardy, a $3K Markieff Morris, a $3,700 Maxence Prosper that at least you can roll the dice on, that's going to be lowering, the Peyton Pritchard that the field is getting, for example, because there's at least going to be alternatives.
yeah, good point. It feels like right now I feel like we're gonna play Dallas value either way. As of right now, we're gonna be playing bad Dallas value. We could potentially be playing good Dallas value depending on how the news breaks. Essentially, like right now, none of this looks good. None of these players project as like great value. Exum is 5.1x value. I mean, it is, I guess, all relative to the slate. We don't have any great value anywhere on the slate, so it is still already the best value on the slate, but it's going to be by far the best value on the slate, depending on what news we get. Anything else on Dallas?
Just, I guess, reiterate, Exum and Lively both look very good.
Yeah.
Point guard small forward for Exum. He's been a little over a fantasy point per minute guy. He's only 5,700. Lively at 5,600, playing big minutes. Now, you did get Grant Williams back, which has the potential. It gives them somebody else they can run in a small ball lineup at the 5 if they want to. If Jones and Hardaway are out, they're still going to be very limited on just the bodies that they have to get Lively off the floor. Even if those guys are in, though, you're likely getting enough playing time from Lively at 5,600. He looks good. So I think him and Exum are the two priorities here. Grant Williams is getting 23% ownership just because he's $4,700. That's fine. It'll look better if Hardaway and Jones are out. And then Luka is clearly, if you can get there, great. But right now, only projected for 11.5% ownership. And the reason for that, again, is that you do have Jokic at about the same price tag. You have Devin Booker, who's less expensive. You have the two Lakers guys who are a lot less expensive. So it's relatively tough to get to him.
Okay. I see a couple people in chat saying that I don't know when lock is. I don't know why people think I don't know when. Maybe I misspoke. I know exactly when lock is. Don't worry, because we start exactly 2 hours before lock. Yeah, we have 2 games starting right at lock, which is at 7:30, and then we have an 8 o'clock game as well, the Denver-Chicago game. So we should theoretically, hopefully, have news on all 3 of those games by the time of lock, just because the 3rd game starts only half an hour later. But we'll see. We'll see what news we actually get. The Lakers side of this game.
So I just want to. So I finished running the sim that I had running. For Boston, you'd asked about Peyton Pritchard. Right now, if the slate started right now, I would have 7% Peyton Pritchard.
Okay,
that is perfectly fine with me at that ownership mark. 15% Drew Holiday would be my highest owned guy there. My highest owned guy from Cleveland would be 9% Donovan Mitchell, and then Dallas. Nothing surprising here, just very, very aggressively getting to them. I would have 91% Exum, 70% Derek Lively. Those both look good. Right now, I would also be getting to 60% Derek Jones at 5,400. He's projected for 12% ownership. I'd be getting to 50% Grant Williams, who's projected for 23% ownership. I'd be getting to 22% Luka, 14% Hardaway. So of the guys on Dallas that are getting ownership right now, which it's Luka, Exum, Lively, Hardaway, Jones, and Williams, I would essentially be right around the field on Hardaway and at least 2x the field on every other player other than, I guess, technically Exum, because he's 54%, and I would have 90, not 108.
Damn. All right. That is a lot of exposure to the Mavs. Yeah, they are really popping in our stuff. I started to run a sim, but I think I interrupted it, so I have to rerun my
Jones Jr. is out.
Oh, well, that is helpful. So we are starting to get news. All right. Well, do we want to come back to that after we get all of the Mavs news, or do you think it's gonna? I mean, it's probably gonna come soon.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the really annoying thing here is that I'm probably not gonna be able to rerun another sim for a while, but so it's gonna just throw everything off. But yeah, I mean, the Hardaway news is still huge. We got Luka confirmed playing, and we got Jones confirmed out. At the very least, so like if Hardaway plays and Jones is out, you assume Hardaway's playing more minutes, but you are opening up playing time for these cheap guys where at least you can roll the dice. Maxence Prosper started in place of Derek Jones Jr. yesterday in the second half, but you have Grant Williams back. So the starting lineup should be Luka, Exum, Lively, Grant Williams, and then somebody else, whether that ends up being Tim Hardaway, whether it ends up being Seth Curry, whether it ends up being Maxence Prosper.
I didn't play the slate yesterday and did not pay any attention. Do you know? So Maxence Prosper played 18 minutes yesterday. Do you have any idea how many of those came in the second half?
7.
Oh, really? Only 7. So he started the second half and only played 7 minutes?
Yeah, so he started the second half. He played 5 minutes and 7 seconds. Markieff Morris subbed in, played the final 6 minutes, 52 seconds of the second quarter, played the first 4 minutes, 46 seconds of the fourth quarter. Maxence Prosper subbed back in for 2 minutes and 6 seconds, and then Morris closed the game for the final 5 minutes. So Markieff Morris was the big beneficiary yesterday of Jones being out. He actually played less than Maxence Prosper in the first half and then played a large chunk of the second half. He is only 3K. And so like if Hardaway is in, I think at this point you can take shots at Markieff Morris and just hope that you get, 18, 20 minutes off the bench. If Hardaway is out, then they're still going to be pretty shorthanded here. And I think there's a good chance you see Morris. The problem is just that Grant Williams being back, you could see the rotation going away where like Seth Curry and Jaden Hardy are still heavily getting minutes, but Morris and Maxence Prosper aren't, is the risk. So I am interested to see what the starting lineup actually is.
Yeah, and that's hopefully we'll get it on this show. Definitely we'll get it on live before lock, if not on this one. So make sure you are paying attention when we have that news, because we're going to update all of our info accordingly. But that is big news. Derek Jones Jr. being out makes all of the value look a little bit better on the Mavs. On the Lakers side of things, we have LeBron and Anthony Davis, both questionable. Jared Vanderbilt, questionable as well. What are you doing with the Lakers? How much interest do you have in these guys?
Yeah, so I mean, assuming that Davis and LeBron play, they're both questionable, like you said. They both look good. I am actually not getting much of either of them, which does surprise me on DraftKings. 9,800 for Anthony Davis, power forward center. LeBron, 9,700, small forward, power forward. Right now, we have 28.5% ownership coming into Davis, 14.5% to LeBron. I was only getting the 5% a piece. So I was 2x the field on Luka. That's probably part of the reason. I'm not getting a lot of Bookers. I don't really know what the other reasoning would be. I am getting to a lot of the Clippers guys. That's probably it. I'm just saving a little bit of money getting to them. So, with Dallas ruling guys out, this is a spot where when things get rerun, maybe I am getting to a little bit more just because I have a little bit more salary. But that is sort of an interesting takeaway for me, just that I'm personally not getting there at the moment. But I do think that they're pretty clearly good plays. Dallas, not a good defensive team. They play at a top 10 pace. Both Davis and LeBron are clearly good point per minute guys, playing plenty of minutes. So I think it's really just kind of an ownership thing for me right now that could certainly change. But I'm getting to a lot of this team in general. Was getting the 50% Austin Reeves, shooting guard small forward at 5,800. Should give you 27, 28 minutes, 44% projected ownership. D'Angelo Russell's cheap at 6,200, 30% owned. I'm getting about 45%. We saw him close last game, got the 32 minutes. I don't think he's going to consistently close games with this team healthy, but the fact that he can here and there is really nice, especially when he's only 6,200, because at this point he is priced in a way where if he plays 25, 26 minutes, you can still be okay, especially on a 5-game slate where it's not like you have a million point guards to choose from. And if he does play well and gets 30 to 32 minutes, you're probably looking at a really good play. So I do like the price tag on Russell, even though I do have general concerns about his playing time when the team is fully healthy. Getting 27% Vanderbilt right now. He is questionable. Probably not playing a ton of minutes either. And he is center only. So there's a lot of things sort of that aren't going to make you feel good. But it just goes back to what we were saying about Peyton Pritchard, where there's not many guys sub 4K. So that price tag does just play a role. I'm getting 27% right now. That certainly could come down with the Dallas guys opening up a little bit. I'm getting 13% Taurean Prince, 7% Rui. So getting to most of this team, at least a little bit, 20% Cam Reddish, if I didn't mention that one. I said it this morning. I think Rui is somewhat interesting. 4,100 only getting 8% ownership, where $4,100 Taurean Prince is getting 24%. Cam Reddish at 4,400 is getting 23%. Rui only played 9 minutes all in the first half last game. Generally, you're expecting him to be playing, 22, 21, 22 minutes. So I do think it's kind of interesting that he's just getting ignored essentially when a lot of guys that look similarly to him are getting 3 times the ownership.
Yeah, that looks pretty good at 8% there. I mentioned on this morning show, Adam, that I've been so focused on NFL since it is NFL season. All my content surrounds it, that I haven't really gotten in the groove of NBA yet this year. And I'm looking at this Lakers roster, and I don't know who a lot of these guys are. Demoy Hodge, Colin Castleton, Maxwell Lewis. I don't, Alex Fudge. There's so many names on the Lakers right now. Are these guys actually in the rotation?
No.
Okay. So I maybe I wouldn't, even if I were playing DFS. Yeah, it's just a lot of names. Like most of these teams, I'm like, okay, I know who all these guys are. The Lakers right now, that's a lot of names that I do not recognize at all. Any other notes about the Lakers?
No, just a team that generally looks good. It's a good matchup. They have a lot of cheap guys that at least have a conceivable path to playing upper 20s in minutes. And then even the whole team kind of is just underpriced, especially on DraftKings. On FanDuel, it's a little bit different because you have a big price gap between Anthony Davis and LeBron. So LeBron relatively looks a little bit better on FanDuel than DraftKings, but they both look good on DraftKings if you can find the salary for them. Pretty popular team overall. This game is going to have the bulk of the ownership on tonight's slate.
Okay. I'm seeing that apparently Colin Castleton is a summer league GOAT according to DK DFS. NBA fan says, yeah, I'd have to play summer league to know these guys. I don't play summer league, and I also don't watch college basketball. So I guess I usually learn who players are through the draft, and then watching games, but also just playing DFS. These random guys on non-Timberwolves teams. Yeah, these guys have not made it into my sphere yet. We got a super chat, Adam, from Brad Kaufman asks, very odd question. Do you watch the slate or wait till it's almost over to check your lineups?
Depends on the day. I will say this year I've probably watched a lot less than usual. Just kind of haven't wanted to watch a lot. So I'll just put something. I'll watch, Netflix or whatever. And I always have the app though. So like I'm always checking the app. And if I have teams doing well, then I'm definitely going to turn games on towards the end of the night and, watch those down the stretch. There are plenty of nights though where I just put 5 games on and sit back and watch those. But always on the app. Whether or not I'm watching the actual games is kind of dependent on the night.
Yeah, okay. Same answer for me. Like I'm always tracking. I hear other people talk about like, oh yeah, I woke up and I won $50,000. Like
Yeah,
that will
Josh.
never happen to me. Literally, yeah, Josh is a good example of that. I know Wiley I talked to said the same thing. Like just fall asleep during the slate and won a bunch of money in the morning. That will never happen to me. I am always tracking it one way or another. It's
Right.
very rare for me to go late into a slate and not be paying attention pretty closely. I wish that I could. Like that is something that I would love to like get to the final lock of an NBA slate and then just turn it off and find out the next day how I'm doing. I don't have it in me.
No,
I'm always
I kind of did the wake up thing with hockey, like at the beginning of the season. It wasn't a win, but I got like second or third for like 5 or 6 thousand. And I had fallen asleep that my team was just like so far back. And like hockey's like baseball where teams can just come out of nowhere. So
yeah.
when I looked, like I was looking and just didn't have any teams that looked good. I was like, whatever, I don't need to pay attention to this. Went to sleep. But like a couple weeks ago when I won the NBA tournament, I was tired. I went to bed. I looked at my phone and I was like, oh, this team looks really good. So then I turned the basketball game on and just was awake for the next like 3 hours watching the 10 o'clock game.
Yeah. And how brutal would it have been if it did not go your way? You're forced to stay up when you're already tired, and if it didn't go your when you win, it's like, all right, we'll take that. We'll take the W. But
Right.
if it
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
go your way,
right. And the problem, you stay up, you watch the game, you win, you have all the adrenaline going, you're not going to sleep anyway. You
right?
lose, you're pissed off, all the adrenaline's still going, and you just
Yep.
don't have money and you're still awake. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that
I
is
wish I
the
could just
worst.
turn it off and go to sleep.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than sweating it hard, especially like if you are the likely favorite to win a contest, and then you're late at night, and then your adrenaline's going, and then you lose, and it's just like I can't sleep, my adrenaline's pumping too hard, and also I somehow lost money on the slate when I thought I was going to win
Right.
$100,000. That is the absolute
I
worst.
think maybe the most ridiculous part of my sweating like basketball habits are Josh is the person that I DM when I'm sweating something. And I know 100% of the time he is not awake for like the minute by minute updates I'm sending him on either like how bad I run or that I think I'm going to win. So like I know I'm not getting a response, but it's just like I need to say this to somebody. So I'm just like spamming Josh's DMs that he's not going to see for like 8 more hours.
If you ever want a response, Adam, feel free to DM me.
Yeah.
I am usually awake, probably watching it. All right, we made it through the first two. Any final words on the Lakers? Did I already say that? Maybe I did.
No, just that this game will have a lot of ownership today.
Einsteinium, welcome to Team Stochastic. Yeah, first time here, Einsteinium. Good to see that you are. We got a notification that it's apparently new Einsteinium username. I don't know why we got that notification. Because he's been around forever. All right, we've made it through the first two games. We have 3 remaining before we hand it over to Live Before Lock. But I do want to tell you about our sponsor, Underdog. If you follow me at all, you know that I absolutely love Underdog. It's not just best ball. They also have daily contests. They have pick'em contests. We've got a free square coming up with Austin Eckler. If you're a new user on Underdog, half a yard is the line for Austin Eckler. They're always giving that kind of stuff out for new users. So if you are in a state where you can't bet on sports, check out Underdog. If you are in a state where you can bet on sports, also check out Underdog because they also have best ball. They also have daily DFS contests where you draft your teams instead of having a salary cap. Tons of fun contests on Underdog. I am obsessed. I play every different format that they throw out there. They keep on innovating, coming out with new games. It is a lot of fun. I would highly recommend checking out Underdog's offerings if you haven't already. And of course, you can get your first match deposit bonus. Wait, your first deposit matched up to $100. I never get the word. I never quite understand the word. Get your first deposit matched up to $100 on Underdog. You must be, if you use the link in the description of this video or the link that Jordan put into chat, you must be 18 plus to play in most places, 21 plus in Massachusetts or Arizona, 19 plus in Alabama or Nebraska. If you're considering to play, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Adam, let's move on to the third game of the slate, that being Denver at Chicago. We do have Jamal Murray still questionable for Denver. I don't think we're waiting on any other news for the Nuggets. Wait, is Aaron Gordon questionable also?
He is probable, I
Yeah, he's
think.
probable. Okay, so
Yeah.
he's probably going to play. All right, Denver. Anything standing out for you on Denver? Or anybody that you're really interested in here?
No, not at all. So I'm getting 4% Jokic right now, 1% Murray. I was hoping that I was going to look and find out that Jokic was the reason I didn't have a lot of Anthony Davis, but he's apparently not. It's another one where, if you can get there, great. If Jamal Murray ends up being ruled out, Jokic does look better. I don't think it's going to put him like head and shoulders above Luka or anything, but his projection will go up if Murray gets ruled out. The problem here is just the overall pace of this game, and the Dallas and Lakers game should be played at a much faster pace. For comparison's sake, Dallas is the underdog in that game with about the same implied total as Denver. Denver is like a 7 or 8 point favorite with the same total as Dallas. So there should just be fewer possessions, less scoring in this game. So it just makes it tough to get to much here. If Murray's ruled out, like I said, Jokic will look a little bit better. You'll get Reggie Jackson at 6,300 as at least a viable play. But the problem there is still the offense runs through Nikola Jokic, not Reggie Jackson. And Reggie Jackson is very happy to have it that way. So in some, like obviously to get the real, like, oh, today's a Reggie Jackson day, you need Murray out, but you also need Jokic out, really, because Jokic is just the de facto point guard. And that's the case, when Murray's in also, but you see him take on an even bigger role when Murray's out. Jackson's happy to just basically, stand around and let Jokic pass him the ball for 3-pointers. So he'll be okay if he ends up getting the start, but it's not like you're going to see a huge bump in rates with Jokic in there. It's just going to be a playing time thing for Jackson. So I think it's very, very difficult to get to this team. The field isn't really either. We do have 7.5% ownership coming into Julian Strawther, who was the first guy off the bench yesterday. If I remember correctly, he played a lot of minutes. Him and Reggie Jackson were the first guys in. Strawther played 28 minutes off the bench yesterday. I don't anticipate that, being a regular occurrence. If it was, then obviously he would look very good at this price tag. By comparison, he was the first guy off the bench 2 games ago and played a total of 4 minutes. So very volatile here. But, on a slate where 30% of the field is projected to play Peyton Pritchard, if you wanted to say, I realize this might go up in flames, but I'm going to just play 7% on Strawther instead, it's not like it's a crazy idea. Just understand that there's a lot of volatility there.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. So basically for large field GPPs only.
Yeah.
We did get another super chat from Ryan Renenbaum, asked for a single entry on FanDuel today. How many Mavs would you have in your lineup for single entry on FanDuel? I don't know if you've looked closely at FanDuel, Adam. I am. Let me pull up the boom bust tool for FanDuel. So I'm sorting by optimal odds right now just to see who kind of rises to the top on FanDuel in the boom bust tool. Dante Exum is 4th overall in terms of optimal odds, 25% chance of being optimal. He's 6,100 today on FanDuel, so pretty good chance he would make it in there for me. Tim Hardaway Jr. we have with a 17% chance of being optimal. Do you have an answer, Adam? And do you have an idea of how many you would play in single entry?
Yeah, so I mean, like a loose idea, I think. So I will say, like, I wouldn't be going in saying I need X amount of Mavs. Whatever my process ends up with, I'm cool with. My best guess looking at this is somewhere between 2 and 4. Like, I most likely would have Dante Exum. I assume I would have at least one of Lively or Hardaway if Hardaway's in, given their respective salaries and just the way they look ownership relative to optimal percentage. If I could get to Luka, great. So, like, it's not like I would be saying, oh, I don't want 4. There's no reason I can't just have Luka, Lively, Exum, Hardaway. My guess is that I would have at least 2 of them and as many as 4.
Okay, 2 to 4. So you do not set a limit. See, I typically I feel like a 5-game slate is like the start of where I usually want to max out at 3 from one team. Maybe FanDuel is a little bit different than DraftKings. I haven't played as much FanDuel recently, but I feel like I usually set that limit at 3. But this is also a slate where we're really hurting for value. So yeah, 2 to 4 seems like a good answer to me.
Yeah, the reason, and I never really set a cap, but it generally works out. Like on DraftKings, I probably won't have more than 3 outside of weird slates. But when you think about who these players are too, there's no real reason you can't just play all of them at their respective salaries. Like they're all cheap other than Luka. 6,100 for Lively, probably playing a bunch of minutes. Exum, fantasy point per minute guy without Kyrie, even with Luka on the floor, playing big minutes. Hardaway, if he's in, only 5,500, can pay that off pretty easily. And then Luka contributes in every category. So there's not, a huge concern of Tim Hardaway taking away from Luka or anything like that. Right. And also, it's a 5-point spread. They're dogs. It's pretty unlikely that they like if all four of those guys have good games, there's still a pretty good chance the Lakers are playing a competitive game, and it's not like they're losing minutes.
Yep. All right. Bobby B says, I lost $10,000 to Buzzard last year because I flipped to Struce from Avdia, the worst $300 I've ever won. We've all been there with Buzzard. That asshole just takes our money all the time. And Natasha, yes, they do think that Luka is going to play. They're optimistic that Luka is going to play. So we are expecting him to play as well.
Whoever said no Grant Williams is in.
Okay. Yep. Grant Williams appears to be in. Anything else you want to say about Denver?
No, just we had. It's basically like every play in the Lakers Dallas game is good, and then every other game is like, oh yeah, the starters look okay if you get them. If not, who really cares?
Okay. Wait. Oh yeah. So we just got the news. Luka Doncic will play. So they're maybe that's just an interpretation. Jordan just sent me that though. It says Luka will play tonight. So
yes, that came out the same time as Derek Jones Jr. being out.
Okay, good. So we did get very quick update from they're optimistic he's going to play to he will play. All right, good. Chicago. Any interest in any? I mean, do we have anybody we're waiting on? No, we have
Caruso is questionable.
Oh, Caruso, you're right. Caruso is questionable. Does that affect things for you? Any priorities for you on the Bulls?
It affects things in that if he is out, Ayo Dosunmu most likely will start, and if you want to play 5K Ayo Dosunmu, you will have that ability. It's clearly not an exciting player. He played about 25 minutes in regulation yesterday. As is right now, I'm actually getting to a couple of guys here, which the spot sucks. I haven't played the Bulls a lot in general, but I am getting the Kobe White and Vucevic. Kobe White at 7,200 is not exactly a place where I really like being in general, but it is a 5-game slate. It's not like you have the same amount of point guard options as you normally do. He's been shooting the lights out this season, which is obviously helpful. 5 games now without Levine and with DeRozan, 1.12 DraftKings points per minute, still only a 21.5% usage rate, but he is also playing big minutes. He's averaged 39.8 minutes per game in those 5 games. Now, for example, yesterday he played 45 minutes because of overtime, but he still played 40 minutes in regulation. So the playing time's been there. The 1.12 DraftKings points per minute is a bit deceiving because in those 5 games, he has shot 59% from 3. He is shooting much better overall this year, as I mentioned. He's not maintaining 59% from 3 over any sort of real sample, but just based on the playing time he's getting, if you want to call him like a 1 fantasy point per minute guy, that's probably reasonable. Should be a little bit below that probably on this slate, but still getting to a bit of him. He's getting about 8% ownership. I'm getting to 21%. I'm getting to 18% Vooch. He's only 6% owned. We have him with a 10% chance of being optimal. He has been on the other end of the spectrum from White this year as far as shooting. Cannot make anything, but still 1.11 DraftKings points per minute in his 5 games without Levine. Does only have a 20.8% usage rate, probably in part because he's not been a great shooter this year. But again, center position is not the best on this slate either, so that makes him a little bit easier to get to, and we do have him going a little bit under-owned. Other than that, I'm not getting much. I think DeRozan, if you're getting there, you should be happy about it. 8,200, you do see a nice usage bump for him without Levine. He's been the guy that the offense really runs through. I am just having a little bit of trouble getting to him. So I have small amounts of him, Caruso, Williams, but White and Vooch are the guys really showing up for me right now at pretty low ownership.
Can you make a case for Andre Drummond even at 4,800? Just like, what if Vooch gets in foul trouble guarding Joe? Like, is there any chance, like, would you consider playing Andre Drummond at 4,800 just because he is such a point per minute smash player? Maybe he has more upside against Vooch or against Joker.
I mean, that's the case. Is what if Vooch gets in foul trouble and Drummond plays a lot? The problem that I have with it right now is that he is getting ownership. We have him getting like 7 to 8% ownership. We do have him also going a little bit under owned, but I'm not getting them. That is the case though. Like he's a good point per minute guy. If Vooch doesn't play his full allotment of minutes, you're expecting to get a few more for Drummond, and he's a good point per minute guy. But the price tag is expensive.
Yeah, I'd love it if he was like 3,800, like $1,000 cheaper. Then I'd be like, that's
really
interesting to me. Yeah, he would be. You're right. Just based like point per dollar, he'd be popular. Good point. Yeah, he's right now just like doesn't project well point per minute, but you can always make the case that Drummond, like if he does get in there, he's such a good point per dollar player that maybe he could get there. Yeah, it's a little bit thin, but it's just such a tough slate as far as value goes. I guess we did get Derek Jones Jr. out, so that helps out a little bit.
Yeah. I
Maybe we're not
mean,
hurting for
1.35 DraftKings points per minute for Drummond. Like he is absolutely playable at that salary. It's just I'm
yeah,
not getting to him because he is expensive enough and getting enough ownership that he's just not showing up in my stuff.
yeah. Anything else on this game?
No.
All right, fourth game of the slate. We have the Warriors at the Suns. Starting with the Warriors side, Adam, we have Kevin Durant ruled out. So we have Steph Curry still. I mean, the remaining Warriors guys. Any interest there? Sorry, Kevin Durant isn't on the Warriors. He's on the Suns. That's me
Yeah,
not playing much NBA this year.
couple years behind.
I am a couple years behind.
Yeah, so I'm actually getting to a couple guys from Golden State, and it's not Draymond, which is where the field's getting to. Draymond 6,900 on DraftKings, getting 12% ownership, 11% chance of being optimal. Looks perfectly fine at those numbers. I'm only getting about 1%. So I think it's just sort of, I was getting to some other Fords more than him that were a little bit cheaper than him, but looks perfectly fine. The guys I'm actually getting to, though, are Clay and Wiggins. We have Clay right now projected for 8% ownership, 11% chance of being optimal. I was getting around 12%. Again, this is all subject to change with Dallas news, but I was getting a little bit over the field on Clay. We did have him a little bit projected to be a little bit underowned. And then Wiggins also 5,600, small forward, power forward, getting 6% ownership, 6% chance of being optimal. I was getting to about 19% of him. That is relatively likely to come down a little bit just because of Derek Jones being out and more stuff opening up for Dallas. But I think that the ownership is just kind of weird on Golden State where Draymond just getting a little bit more than Thompson, a little bit more than Wiggins. They're both a little bit less expensive than Draymond. So I was getting a little bit more of those two at the expense of Draymond. Having a lot of trouble, though, getting to anything else here. And somebody in chat had asked about Kuminga. I don't really know what to make of his minutes at this point. I think that it's been fluky. So 2 games ago, he didn't play at all in the first half. He came in the second half, played a bunch, played well down the stretch. Then last game, he was clearly in the rotation. He played in the first half as well as the second half. But Kevon Looney only played 16 minutes. That game did go to overtime where Kuminga played 4 minutes. So he played 28.9 minutes in that game, 24.9 in regulation. He was in the closing lineup. It's just, you could make the case that Kuminga's a guy that Golden State would love to actually be the guy that they think he can be. And if he is playing well, they, I'm sure, are more than happy to give him minutes. The counterpoint is we've just seen 2 games where he played well. There's no guarantee that if he just plays his normal game that he's still getting these 24, 25 minutes, and his salary is already up to 5,200.
Right. Yeah, that's a good synopsis of Jonathan Kuminga. I was shocked, Adam, that nobody was trolling me in chat about talking about Kevin Durant being on the Warriors. You'll never guess who the first person was to jump in there and troll me. Jordan Klein asking Neil, any interest in Monty Ellis? Yeah, it was obviously going to be Jordan if nobody else is going to jump on it. Screw you, Jordan Klein. All right, Sun side of this game, we do have Kevin Durant out for the Suns tonight. We have still several stars left on the Suns without Kevin Durant. Any interest in anybody on the Suns tonight, Adam?
It didn't open up as much as I expected it to for me. It does certainly make everybody look at least a bit better, but Josh Okogie is the guy I'm getting the most of, at least right now at 15%. He's projected for about 8% ownership. We have him with a 16% chance of being optimal. That probably comes down again when things are rerun for Dallas missing Derek Jones Jr. But he's the only guy I was getting double digits of. I have like 8% Nurk right now, 4% Booker. I have a Bradley Beal lineup. Beal is only 6,900 on DraftKings. I think there's a good chance he plays around like 28 to 30 minutes. He still has to contend with Booker for production, but Durant being out certainly makes things look a little bit better. The issue with Beal is just that it's hard to think he's not somewhat limited here. He has been fully practicing, which is good, but it's just hard to think that they're just going to turn him loose. We know that Phoenix's priority is not winning on December 12th. It's actually getting all 3 of these guys healthy and playing together. So I have trouble thinking that you have a lot of volatility in terms of, Beal played 5 minutes more than he was projected for. Certainly can still put up a big game at 6,900, but I'm having trouble getting to him. He's who the field actually is getting to the most. We have 14% ownership coming to him. So I think that's another reason why I don't have it, is just if he were like 1, 2, 3% owned, it would be really easy to convince me to just hope Bradley Beal plays well for 30 minutes. But if the field's going to be there, I think that there's just some other guys that I'm going to get to more.
I have great news for you, Adam. You can play Io DeSumo tonight if you want to. Alex
Yes.
Caruso has been ruled out. So, Adam, or are we locking in Io DeSumo?
Yeah, all the I would assume.
Yeah. You already kind of went over all the like you're in we did the whole analysis. Do you have anything else you want to add with Alex Caruso being out, or is that I think we covered it well enough?
Yeah, no, I think just pretend that I would assume was named Alex Caruso and treat it like Alex Caruso were in. Like I wouldn't expect to be getting a much different amount of the Sunmu than I was getting of Caruso.
Okay. Fair enough. Um, yeah, and anything else on this Suns Warriors game?
Booker being 2%, 3% owned is interesting just because, it's Devin Booker without Durant. 3 games without him this year, 1.52 DraftKings points per minute. Beal didn't play any of those games, though, so you do expect that production to come down at least a bit, but still should have the ball in his hands a ton. I'm not getting to him, but just looking at that ownership and knowing Durant's out, it's at least interesting.
Yeah. All right, one final game on the slate. So I'd like to remind you guys, if you haven't already checked out the lineup, if you already signed up for the lineup generator, we're getting to the point now where we have enough news where maybe you want to start running that now. Fantastic tool. Adam does every day. Adam's posting videos of the NBA lineup generator, letting you know what it's giving you midday. But Adam would agree with me. We talked about it this morning. You want to be running it yourself as close to lock as possible. So yes, it's useful looking at it earlier in the day, but the closer you can get to lock, the better the lineups are going to look for. You're going to get all of the updated information in the lineup generator, and it brings you the power of the stochastic tools. It's balancing your lineups for you because it's running all of the lineups through the stochastic sims. The best lineups are coming out. The highest ROI lineups in these stochastic sims are the ones that are making it into the lineup generator. So it's a really powerful tool, and it's only $14.95 per week. Fantastic deal. And of course, for NBA, for NFL, I say all the time, you get main sites, you get showdown sites. For NBA, you can just run it every single night. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that you can use constantly for NBA. So check out the NBA lineup generator if you haven't already done so. Link is in the description of this video and in chat. All right, Adam, final game of the slate. We've got Sacramento at Los Angeles Clippers. We'll start with the Sacramento side of this one. Any priorities for you in this game on this team?
I keep getting to Malik Monk. This has been like a multi-slate problem that I'm having, but at the same time, I don't hate it. He's 6,100. He is getting 18% ownership, so I'm not that far over the field at 24% right now. Again, could lose some of that also depending on the approach I take with the Dallas guards and whether or not Hardaway ends up playing. But he's like a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. He's generally giving you mid to upper 20s, even with the Aaron Fox back. So I don't mind getting to that price tag. He played 28 minutes again yesterday, didn't even close that game. So there is plenty of playing time available for him, but and production. It's always scary taking like a $6,100 guy off the bench, but the production has been there. Other than that, I'm getting about 11% Trey Lyles, 4K backup center. He's getting 24% ownership, so I'm about half the field there. I'm getting the 9% Sabonis, which is about 2x the field. I do like that. Just getting to him at 9,500 at 4% owned on a 5-game slate is pretty nice, just given how good he is. 4% Fox, 2% Murray, a random Harrison Barnes lineup. So Malik Monk looks like the priority for me from Sacramento.
Okay. Any other notes on the Kings?
Keegan Murray's getting 14% ownership, so the field is there. He's okay at 5,900. It's just not the spot that I'm getting to right now.
Okay.
14% chance of being optimal. Nothing wrong with his ownership.
All right. Final team of the slate is the Clippers. First, Adam, before I get to the Clippers, I want to ask you if you think that this is something I should be worried about. Went out to walk my dog today, and there is a Dexter DVD, like Dexter the TV show, that is just like torn up, and the DVD is strewn out all throughout my alley, which makes me, I'm like worried. Is there a serial killer in my alley who's like gonna come kill somebody? I'd be more worried if I was like a criminal, like if I had murdered somebody and like I had it coming,
Right.
but like. Do you think somebody in my neighborhood is going to be murdered by a Dexter-like person?
Yeah, I think the only question is whether or not they stick to his code or if they're coming after like you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, who knows? Like some people, maybe they watch the show, don't really have the right takeaways, and they just want to murder people. Maybe they don't have the same Dexter code. So I was like, this is kind of freaky. Walking down my alley and just seeing this Dexter DVD torn up, it kind of feels like they're setting something up. They're coming to kill me soon. I hope not. JoJo says Dexter awesome. I agree. I loved it. I actually liked the final season of Dexter. Did you enjoy the reboot season? I know a lot of people didn't love it.
Yeah, so I thought it was good for what it was. My thing with it like I didn't think it was like super memorable or anything. But my thing, like I knew a lot of people didn't like it. I couldn't. I was trying to think of like how they were going to tie everything together and end the show and all of that. And the route they went was what I thought was the best thing that I could think of. I didn't
Yep.
think they had any great opportunities that they like missed. I thought it was just sort of, this is probably just gonna be decent and not be mind blowing or anything. And that's kind of what I thought of it. Like I don't even remember details anymore. I just remember that I did at least like it a little bit more than I think a lot of people did.
Do you think it left room open for a sequel with a different character in the Dexter role?
I don't remember. I don't remember specifics. I do remember thinking they had left the door open for something.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying not to be too I mean, it's been a couple of years now. Like spoilers is probably not something I need to worry about, but just not trying to be too specific. Yeah, they clearly haven't done it yet. Daniel says don't spoil. Okay, we're gonna stop the conversation on Dexter before we ruin anything. Yeah, go check it out. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Sounds like Adam sort of enjoyed it also.
Yeah, no, I did.
So
I mean, I'm not a really critical like
me neither.
TV or
Not at
movie
all.
watcher.
We've talked about this in the
Yeah,
baseball shows. We
yeah,
were saying
pretty
this
easily
time.
entertained.
Yeah.
So it passed my bar of yeah, I will turn this on and watch it, for an hour whenever it's on TV.
Have you seen the show Obliterated on Netflix yet?
I have not.
I think it's brand new out. I think it's one of those shows that's like kind of trending right now. I turned on my Netflix and it popped up right away, and I watched the entire series like in the past week, which
Okay.
was, it's one of those things. It's like I'm watching the whole time. I'm like, all right, that's kind of dumb. That was sort of bad writing right there, and just like flew through it. Just like
Right.
I enjoy TV. I am not very critical with what I watch, and I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I think it was a good time watching for 8 episodes over the past week. All right, final team of the slate is the Clippers. Adam, any priorities for you on the Clippers?
Yeah, finally a team that I'm actually getting a lot of right now. Getting the 31% Kawhi, 27% Harden, 21 George, 13 Zubats, even 9% Norm Powell. Again, likely to change with Dallas, but this is a popular team for me and for the field. Pricing is just really soft on this team for some reason. Kawhi is north of 1.1 DraftKings points per minute this year in the games he's played with George and Harden active. George is about 1.08 DraftKings points per minute. So is Harden. They're all playing, enough minutes that they look good at these salaries. Zubats is up to 6,200, but also looks pretty good. He is getting 22% ownership. We only have him with a 13% chance of being optimal, which I have 13%. So I am pretty happy with how that shook out. You have Daniel Tice, who's not on the injury report. He's been just the straight backup center. He's 4,300. I have 2% of him. So he's another one that you could throw in that mix of, people are playing a lot of Trey Lyles. Some people are playing Andre Drummond for $500 more. You can absolutely play Daniel Tice if that's the kind of play that you're looking for also.
Okay. Any other notes on this game?
No, I think it's probably in the aggregate, the second most like useful game on the slate.
Here's a good question from Marquee Music Group. How many times have Lennon and George been on the optimal lineup together? Would you play them together?
I have no problem playing them together. I have no idea what the answer to that question is either.
I have no idea either.
So
we got
my general view on that is, so one, it's going to be salary dependent. Like if they were both 10K, it's obviously less likely that they both put up winning scores, but also they're just not going to project into your lineups together that often if they're both 10K because they're just not going to be the same quality of play. But there's always this like focus on, oh, well, you have two teammates that they need this, if one of them scoring, there's only one ball, one of them scoring, the other one's not. But you have other things that positively correlate within a game that just never get talked about. If this game plays at a faster pace than projected, that's good for everybody involved. If the refs are just calling fouls on every play, like we got in that Lakers Indiana game, that's good for everybody involved as long as they're not the ones fouling out. If the game goes to overtime, that's good for both of them. So there's always this tendency to focus on the negative correlation that comes along with two primary players in NBA, but there are pieces that are positive too. And so it's something that I don't care one way or the other, really.
Okay. Good analysis. Corey Shea asks, super chat, last man in, Zubats or D'Lo?
So we have Zubats at just shy of 30 DraftKings points. We have, where do you go? We have Russell at 30.4. So Russell projects slightly better, but they're also close enough that you can kind of flip a coin. I guess my answer would be Russell just because he projects a little bit better.
Guitar Z-Man
I was
says
also
no,
getting more Russell.
Okay. So wait. So what is the final answer there?
The
Trusting you
final
here.
answer is it doesn't really matter, but I would answer Russell.
Okay. Guitar Z-Man says no, but that motherfucker was real, which raises the question to me. So the crazy plane lady who has gotten very famous. Do you think that was all like a marketing ploy? Because I know she is a marketer. Do you think that was a real thing, the plane flip out, or was it just like a marketing ploy to get famous?
Uh, so I haven't paid a lot of attention to it.
Me
I
neither.
generally think that like so there's such an incentive to just do dumb,
I know.
ridiculous shit now, like and just get paid. There's as long as like you can look yourself in the mirror and not care, like there's no negative to it at this point. So why not? I kind of just have that approach on like all the random stuff that goes viral where it's just like, yeah, somebody woke up and was like, hey, I can make a lot of money by just doing this crazy thing and then I'm gonna be set.
I have also not tracked it at all. I've seen like clips, like tiny clips of interviews, but like she seems pretty put together in the few things that I've seen, which is like that is not the same lady as
Right.
that lady on the plane. So that's what made me think like, is this just a great marketing by her? And I agree with you. People just like my entire for you on Twitter is just people like saying things that are obviously wrong to get engagement, and they're all going to get paid by Twitter because they get the millions and millions of interactions on Twitter
Right.
and they get paid accordingly. So yeah, you're right. It's just
Yeah. In
doing dumb
general,
shit.
the blueprint to making money now is if you're an attractive woman, just be an attractive woman that draws attention to yourself. And
Yep.
if you're a dude, just market to dudes that don't get girls. And that's pretty much all you have to do.
That is 100% correct, and that basically describes the Twitter for you page. At least what I'm seeing. It's just it has been brutal. We do have Greg and Eric coming up next on Live Before Lock. Maybe we'll get some more news in that show. At the very least, we'll get starting lineups and such. So stick around for Live Before Lock. Adam, any final thoughts?
Yeah, keep an eye out on the rest of Dallas's news. We're still waiting on Hardaway. I saw somebody just ask about Jaden Hardy, if he's in play. Like a lot of this depends on Jaden Hardy or on Tim Hardaway news and who exactly is starting for Dallas. So, Live Before Lock should have that answer.
All right, yeah. Hang around, stick around for Live Before Lock. Eric and Greg going tip to tip coming up next. Thank you all for watching and good luck tonight.
It's not a coincidence that they're called Smash Mouth.
No, it's not.
Absolutely.
Dude, get out of here. You can't say something like...
Everybody, it is NBA live before lock time. Eric's here just throwing out dirty lyrics of songs that he sings in his head all day. And
it's Smash Mouth. It's a hit song from like early 2000s.
Yeah. Why do you think that's the name of the band?
I don't know. Somebody once told me the world is going to roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. What is about getting...
You.
No, it's not. I have the wrong sponsor. Don't mind me. Hang on. Go ahead. Just keep going.
Just keep scrolling.
Found it.
Yeah, we got one sponsor. Don't worry. We just sponsored everything at once. Today's sponsor is Underdog. I hope nobody gets mad at us because Eric has just gone ahead and he's just rolling through.
No, you said something that frazzled me. Okay. The lyrics to All-Star from Smash Mouth are like encouragement. They're like, hey, now you're an All-Star. Get your game on. Go play. They're not about.
Yeah, it's about sex.
Whatever. No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Pretty
Specifically,
sure.
A kind of sex that you wanted to allude to. You absolute heathen, you.
We're sponsored today by Underdog Fantasy. If you sign up, you got a great deal here. You're going to Austin Eckler over under 0.5 total yards. I know he hasn't the best fantasy season in the world. There's rumors that he's, going to be splitting touches with Joshua Kelly the rest of the year. There's no starting quarterback for them. We've got a broken finger for Justin Herbert. Doesn't matter. I'm very confident.
I've got blisters on my fingers.
Once again, him with the dirty references. Over 0.5 total yards for Austin Eckler. It's going to happen on Thursday, and you guys get access to that play. If you sign up at Underdog using the link we have below, you're going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit and over under 0.5 total yards for Austin Eckler. It's a free square. It is going to hit. Go ahead and take advantage of it. Now, we've got quite a bit of news that's happened here, Eric, and it's stuff that has made me rerun my lineups multiple times just over the course of the last 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. One of them, somewhat important, Alex Caruso getting ruled out. Wouldn't matter on a big slate, but it does matter for the purposes of a 5-game slate. But what is really important for tonight is that Jamal Murray is now doubtful to play. And I wasn't really expecting him to play, although with that said, I did build my lineups assuming he was going to be in. With him out, he rolled his ankle in the Nuggets last game. How does this impact the other players on Denver? And then, of course, Nikola Jokic as well.
I mean, do we want to chase Julian Strother's 19 first half points from yesterday? Because that feels like a thing that might end up happening. I mean, this at least opens up value. This slate went from having no value and having a lot of tough paths to Jokic, to Doncic. And now I think we have multiple. We got news Caris LeVert's going to be in here. That's going to be an interesting one as well, kind of figuring out what stands out from that basketball team here on a back-to-back as well. I have a lot of interest in just punting with a lot of these Denver guys and rotating them around. I was with you. I saw that he turned his ankle, and then also it's Jamal Murray coming off of an injury, from earlier where how long was he out here? He was out for over 3 weeks there, from November 4th to the 29th. I think, 29 minutes of him yesterday. He hasn't gotten over 32 minutes. I mean, we've already seen a couple of other guys in that rotation kind of jump in, but like Aaron Gordon being in changes the dynamic ever so slightly for me, where I didn't know what to make of him. I know that he was probable coming in, but I don't know if he's the guy I necessarily want to get to. I think it's going to be like punting with the Julian Strothers. We're shooting guard small forward at 3,500. I think that's when we at least have to just kind of like talk about 28 minutes of him, how big of a fluke that was from yesterday. 26.4% usage. Like, how popular do you think he gets before lock?
Strother, I don't know that he's going to be like a chalky option or anything like that. I think there are going to be people who play him. Although with that said, it's not like there's that much cheap value on the slate, and we were going to want to pay up for Jokic. We're going to pay up for Doncic. I think the thing that's really most interesting to me, which we'll also hit on in a second, is whether we want to pay up for Luka or for Jokic tonight. But first, on your point about Strother, my initial gut reaction is not crazy popular because of just the fact that, he's not going to go out and project for like 25 fantasy points or anything like that. But there are a lack of cheap options. People are going to want to play Luka as well as Jokic. So I could see him getting up to like 20% owned when we get an ownership update.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I think he's going to end up pretty darn popular. I mean, Dallas, there's going to be value. We add Grant Williams. The Derek Jones Jr. thing yesterday, I binked across the board. I had so much. I mean, he was kind of the talk of the town for me and our entire Discord, but I was pretty heavy on Derek Lively yesterday at 0.4% ownership at the center position. And then that probably was a good thing there to have Derek Jones, but I jammed Derek Jones at 15, 20% in pretty much every tournament. He ends up getting dinged up out of the game, and that was an absolute stone cold disaster for me. But we had Grant Williams to that rotation. Everybody's going to play Dante Exum. I think you're going to have to at least consider running back Seth Curry, even with 4,500 there. He started, only played 20 minutes, but it was a back-to-back, and now Tim Hardaway Jr., do we add him? Do we not add him? I have no clue. We keep getting news that, they wanted Luka to play, and now Luka is officially in, but like, there's just so many moving parts with Dallas. Denver, you remove Jamal Murray. You just had Strother go nuts yesterday, but he's 3,500 with shooting guard small forward. So I just want to throw him out there as somebody that like, I totally understand if we rerun everything and we project him for 22 minutes, 24 minutes, he could be in like damn near everything for everyone today.
So the other part of this, which I had mentioned before, and I'm not sure if you actually gave an answer in that or not, who do you prefer? If you had a utility spot and you had the absolute exact amount of salary left, Jokic, Doncic, one's 11.9, one's 11.8. So let's assume the $100 doesn't make a difference. You've got the option to play either of them in a utility spot. I'm going with Jokic tonight. How about yourself?
Me too. Yep, Jokic. And yesterday was different. I had all the Luka and all the land, mainly because center, there were 48 guys who wanted to play at center. None of them did well besides Lively at 0.4%. Wish I had just jammed him instead of Derek Jones Jr. there. But, that was the only salvaging thing I had for me yesterday at the center position. But with every center failing yesterday, it was whatever. Today, I mean, we'll get to it. I mean, the Anthony Davis thing's a little bit curious to me. We'll get that news. It starts, right at lock here. So we'll have Anthony Davis transparency here on whether or not he is in this basketball game. That could open up Christian Wood at the center spot. But otherwise, it's nowhere close to what we had yesterday. And so you tell me raw points in a situation where I can get a 1.9 fantasy point per minute guy or a 1.65, 1.7 with Kyrie off the floor guy. I'm going to take the Jokic side of things. He's just outrageous. And I know Luka's probably due for a couple more minutes, but it is a back-to-back. It's a wonky spot where currently they're dogs. I don't know. It could go either way for me as far as him playing 40 plus minutes or so, but as things stand, the rate and what I have plugged in, I'm with you. Jokic is the guy I prefer.
You really mean to tell me, will the years start coming and they don't stop coming, that's not a sex-related lyric?
Okay.
I'm
see
just
your
saying
point.
you're way off base on All-Star.
Did it make sense not to live for fun? Your brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb. So much to do, so much to see. So what's wrong with taking the back streets? The back streets. That's literally all you're taking from it to make it like anal.
No, it's
that's the only thing you're taking from it.
Yeah, what's wrong with taking the back streets? If you don't think that's about anal, what is it about? You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. I think that you're incorrect about your assessment of the song.
I see your point for the first time.
There we go. Just saying. I think that this is a song that should be viewed a little bit differently historically.
Okay.
Still
it
Smash
made
Mouth's
them a
best song.
ton of money. Yeah, it probably. No, I would say they're Shrek for their cover of I'm a Believer. But yeah, their song probably. Yeah.
One other part to add about the Denver Nuggets, by the way. Reggie Jackson is fairly expensive on DraftKings. He's not on FanDuel. So Reggie Jackson is somebody who will look at as more of a FanDuel priority. Reggie Jackson over on FanDuel is only $5,100. No, I believe he is $6,100 on DraftKings. $6,300 actually on DK. So $6,300 for Reggie Jackson on DK. Don't have a massive amount of interest in that. But the $5,100 price point on FanDuel, is that as appealing to you as it is to me, Eric?
Yes, it is. If I were playing on FanDuel today, I would be playing lots and lots of Reggie Jackson. I mean, it's a Bulls matchup too that is rather fruitful with Kobe White out there on the floor. I love what Kobe White's been doing. I've been talking about it a lot from a betting angle. Haven't been playing him a lot in DFS because he's 7K plus, but of course he goes ballistic there. He is so bad defensively, but he has been a really, really bright spot in a very dim world out there in Chicago. Plus 1.5 offensive plus minus, which is just basically for people that, dunks and threes. It's an analytics site for NBA. Estimated impact on offense per 100 possessions. That's plus 1.5. He's really good. 84th percentile basketball player there. He's 6th percentile on defense. So like we're talking about a guy who's like the poor man's Tyrese Halliburton and in those kind of switches. Like, I mean, he's just been awesome offensively.
We've got some more news right here. We've got, we already hit on that. We already hit on the Caris LeVert. You mentioned that before. So we were all set. If any other news comes, we'll be bringing it up over the course of the show. If you guys have questions for us in our Discord channel, at me in Discord, and we could answer those on the show as well. But let's go ahead and look at some of the super chats that we have here, because I believe I saw one from our friend Ace of Spade. And Jordan, any of these other questions, do we start with Ace of Spade, or did some of these questions come to us during this show, or were they from last show? All right, Ace of Spade, who has not been kidnapped by Eric. There was rumors of that were floating across the interwebs, because there was a point in time where Eric wasn't here. There was a point in time where Ace of Spade wasn't here. We just kind of put 2 and 2 together, and we said, hey, if Ace of Spade isn't living his super chats and Eric isn't on the show.
Why are you trying to ruin my life? Why? Why do you try to ruin my life?
You may have kidnapped a loyal member of the YouTube community. You didn't, though. It's all clear. He's back and you're back.
I mean, Sean V is tied up outside, but that's the only person I got right now.
If that's who you want to spend your time with. Listen, if that's the person you're going to kidnap, why?
Well, because he won't stop talking, and Duke enjoys somebody who's just like nonstop blabbering. Just, it keeps him entertained in the backyard.
How much ransom do you think you get for him?
Shreefitty.
I have a feeling you would call his wife and you would say, hey, I've got Sean V hostage here. Mm-hmm. And she would say, okay, cool. That's nice. And then hang up and then carry on with her day.
Somebody else is finally paying for his bills. This is great.
somebody else could clean his shorts at the end of the day after he's made it. It's a good deal. You get somebody else.
Just somebody else in the other room. Awful take. Just screaming at the top of their lungs.
Ace of Spade wants to know who are the best options for DK tiers. So let's go ahead and pull up tiers. And good thing I'm reading this now as opposed to at the top of the show, because the answer has changed. Tier 1, that is going to be Jokic for me. And we've talked about the Luka versus Jokic conversation. That's really where it's at. I wouldn't consider AD or Jason Tatum ahead of Luka or Jokic. So we got Jokic tier 1. Tier 2, this is so tight. We've got Devin Booker in tier 2. We've got LeBron James in tier 2. I'm going to say Devin Booker for now because Kevin Durant is out, but we've got LeBron listed as questionable. We got Anthony Davis listed as questionable. If something was to change, maybe LeBron's in, Anthony Davis is out, then LeBron becomes the guy in tier 2. Devin Booker for now, though. Tier 3, that is going to be Domantas Sabonis for me. Tier 4, Kawhi Leonard. Tier 5, I'm going to go with Yusuf Nurkic. Kind of the similar sort of idea with Devin Booker. No Kevin Durant in there. So Nurkic should see a usage bump. And then also Bradley Beal. I don't expect him to play a massive amount of minutes right out of the gate here. Tier 6, that is going to be Drew Holiday for me. So Ace of Spade, thank you for the super chat. Hopefully it helps you build out your tiers lineups. Now another super chat here from Corey Shea, who wants to know for DK, who are 3 favorite options that are 5K and under?
One of them is going to change potentially between now and lock. I would put Christian Wood on your radar. He hasn't played a minute in forever, but there is a chance that it ends up being him potentially. I mean, it makes more sense to Jared Vanderbilt if you're just looking for something safe if in the event that Anthony Davis gets ruled out. But again, these are guys we're going to have news for, so I'm not going to go out of my way. I probably shouldn't just put them in the top 3. They're just guys that I'm got really high on my radar here at the moment because of potential for what that could be here in a couple of minutes. But I will put Julian Strother there.
By the way, we just got an ownership update. He is infinitely more popular than I thought he was going to be.
I told you he was going to be insane, and you didn't believe me. 58%.
63.
Okay, I was pretty close.
That's crazy. Like, I thought he'd be a guy who'd be like 20, 30% owned.
No.
62.5. Crazy ownership there on Julius.
You underestimate the power of the force, or in this case, point chasing.
Stroth, crazy popular Julian.
19. He looked good in the first half yesterday. I mean, I know the Nuggets are really good at finding these guys from obscurity or making somebody like Christian Brown a utility guy during the NBA playoff run. I mean, you can put anybody next to Jokic and you're going to look pretty good at times, but Julian Strother looked really good to me in that first half. The thing I'm scared about is he got inflated by the 5 steals, by the absolute hot hand. He knocked down 6 threes. There's a lot of like unreliable stuff, but like my main thing is that there's just nowhere that we're finding value, and he checks all the boxes. He's 3,500. He is a willing shooter out when he's out on the floor at times. You don't have Jamal Murray, and he's 3,500 with the best possible lineup. The shooting guard, small forward positionality, like best possible positionality. So yeah, he was going to be crazy popular. I was pretty positive.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to be that popular. I'm going to rerun my lineups right now that we've got everything updated. We've got ownership in, just mentioned Strother, and I'll see where I end up coming into him relative to the field. And we don't even have him projected crazy out. We got him break for 17 fantasy points at $3,500. You know, this could really be one of those situations where maybe Strother goes out and scores 14 fantasy points. But if Luka and Jokic both have big nights, it's where else is that value going to come from? Those guys could be necessary pieces. And then it's almost like Strother just enables you to get to them. It doesn't even matter what he does.
Yeah, I want to at least throw Prosper out as kind of a pivot off of him. I don't know the man's first name, but Dallas, watched that Dallas game yesterday just because of how much Luka I had. He was playing backup behind Derek Lively, and I was obviously very, very curious how my guy Derek Lively was doing, but he's crazy popular. If there's any foul trouble that you get into against Anthony Davis, if he ends up playing in this game and things happen this way, I do feel as though Prosper at 3,700, small forward, power forward, at least, I mean, I haven't projected it would appear a lot better than we do here at the moment. And I think he's playing just backup center minutes here. The main thing being Maxi Kleber continues to be out. Dwight Powell is complete dust and won't play over 12 minutes in any meaningful basketball game, hopefully ever again. And they're just giving some run to this Prosper kid. I think he can get some stuff done in the block department. It hasn't shown up yet. He averages all 0.1 per game here, but he's long, lanky, and I would be surprised if he didn't get an increase to his steals per game, if his blocks per game didn't come up. 0.1 in both of those departments. He's just a lot longer, lankier, and seems like he's going to be a decent defender. I can't back that up considering he hasn't really done anything with those minutes on the floor and hasn't really put up any defensive stats, but he's 3,700 and he will go out and shoot. So I am probably going to find my way onto some of him as like the super low owned pivot.
I don't mind that at all. Looking at some of the other potential options here, I don't know if I'm going to end up with as much as Strother as the field. That'll be determined in the next, 10, 15 minutes or so. But I'm very confident that he's one of the 3 best value plays on the slate. So,
yes.
Corey,
in cash, you're just playing.
Yeah, he's somebody who should be in the mix. Grant Williams is still somebody sub 5K that I do view as one of the better sub 5K options. And then if I'm going with another one, I'm going to go with Cam Reddish here at kind of modest ownership, just from a standpoint of we know that LeBron is questionable right now. Anthony Davis is questionable. Even if they both play, is there a chance they're not 100%? Maybe they give Cam Reddish some extra minutes. I mean, all these other guys we're talking about, it's not like these are the best fantasy players in the world. Cam Reddish isn't, but neither is anybody else. So right around 10% ownership on Cam Reddish. That'll be another guy who I think makes sense.
Taurean Prince as well, somebody at 4,100 that I've got some ownership to. Not that I love it, but again, you're picking hairs at some of these guys down here that are all projected for 20 or fewer points.
Orion has asked us a FanDuel GPP 2v2. So Jordan Klein, fire up the player compare tool because I really want to get into some of the data here. He is asking us Eric Gordon and Grant Williams or Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray. I feel like that's got to be Eric Gordon and Grant Williams, but I want to see what the data says as well. But first glance, Eric Gordon and Grant Williams over Barnes and Keegan Murray, right?
Yes.
Let's see what the data
Barnes
says.
And Keegan Murray just makes my what pucker. It's not good. It doesn't feel good. It's not an enjoyable experience. Apparently it's a Smash Mouth song.
Yeah. All right, we got it on screen here. Oh, it's actually closer than I thought it was going to be. We are on that. We did guess the right side. 52.9% Eric Gordon and Grant Williams to 47.1% on the other side. But it is a little bit closer than I thought it was going to be. But either way, Eric Gordon, Grant Williams, that's the way to go there, Orion. Will Griffey just joined the show. Is there enough value on this slate to play Sabonis and Jokic in the same lineup for a large field GPP? So my biggest concern with that, and the reason why I ultimately don't think I'm going to get to very much Sabonis when I'm building lineups here, is that's you're playing both of these guys, and that's where you're going to be spending up, and it's going to take up both of your spots there at center. I don't think that's a build that I'm going to really be getting to. But would you be looking to play Sabonis and Jokic in the same lineup, Eric?
I have no problem with it. Jared Vanderbilt just got ruled out. Give me the news that matters. Give me the news that matters. I do think that brings Christian Wood at least like what?
We're never going to be able to rerun lineups. Every time I start, somebody else gets ruled out.
Yeah, well, fuck you. So there's that. I am looking at, I have 50 lineups, my typical 50 that I run on this show. I have one lineup that has both of them. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm looking at it and it doesn't inspire awe. Like, it doesn't make you feel good when you see Strother and Pritchard and these idiots in the same lineup. Yeah, some might call them exotic plays today.
Ooh, well, you've been trying to get the exotic bit to go away. Nobody's asked about, and I have a feeling you may have just researched.
Peyton Pritchard's the only exotic player that I've ever referred to, period. Like, he's the only one. He's the OG exotic play, mainly because he was like 1% on that freaking thing. So it is what it is.
You cannot have masturbated to Bojan Bogdanovic as many times as you have and not claim that you don't think he's exotic.
That's true. That's true. He's a man.
You've got a few exotic honeys that you have posters of hanging on the wall. I know my customers here.
It's the Wolverine touching it on the bed. It's both.
it's Wolverine touching it on the bed, but it is Bogdanovic
no pants.
in the picture. It is not Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, there's no yellow pants. He's got the costume off. It's just chest hair out, ready to rock.
Malcolm Revamp wants to know, what are our core options tonight for DK and FanDuel? I don't have a great answer for that because Vanderbilt just got rolled out and waiting on the AD and LeBron news. Malcolm Revamp, I'm going to come back to your question after we get an updated status on whether LeBron and AD are in, and also Vanderbilt being ruled out. Like, that's going to be something that impacts my lineup as well. Not going to forget about you, but we're going to come back to it in a little bit. Robert wants to know FanDuel single entry GPP, Garland and LeBron James, or Fox and Porzingis. I'm going to say Garland and LeBron James, but do keep in mind that LeBron is currently questionable to play, and we do need to find out officially if he's going to be in or not. Typically, if LeBron's listed as questionable, you could safely say that he's going to play, but today could be a little bit different because it's not that often that both him and AD are questionable, so it feels like something is a little bit different than normal. But Eric, Garland and LeBron James or Fox and Porzingis?
Got to go to the first one because LeBron James is probably going to be the guy that I get to the most on this slate out of the spend ups if what happens ends up happening. What I think ends up happening.
Just even right now with us projecting AD in, we're still the player compared to.
Have you watched this line? This is the main thing. So obviously, as I've in the last couple of years just gotten into betting, the things you pay attention to that help you read tea leaves. This is now gone from 4.5 at open. Dallas is now +2. And I don't think people actually thought Luka. I know it was a back-to-back. I know it was a back issue, yada, yada, yada. But it's been about an hour since we got news that they were hoping that he was going to play. Anthony Davis will play. We just got that news as I'm talking.
So I was going to say it's actually entirely because of Luka being on the injury report.
That's so wild. That is insane to me that 2.5 points, because I got in a Dallas +4.5. I'm not going to recommend people take it at 2 now. That would just be asinine.
Vanderbilt's out though. So we've got a clearer picture of the Lakers now, right?
Yeah.
Anthony Davis in, LeBron in, Vanderbilt out. What kind of value does this open up, if anything, with Vanderbilt being out? Wasn't playing a mass amount of minutes, but was still the first big man coming off the bench for the team.
I don't know. I doubt Christian Wood ends up being a thing for me now. It was going to be more reliant on that. I think Jackson Hayes probably picks up some of those minutes. Do you have interest Jackson Hayes? He played 17 minutes against the Pelicans, but that was mainly blowout run. Before the play-in tournament madness towards the end, he was playing like 19 to 21 minutes before Vanderbilt got back. I think he's the guy you got to add some minutes to here in this spot. And Dallas, I mean, what does their backup center situation really look like? I mean, it's Dwight Powell playing 12 minutes, Rashawn Holmes playing like 5 or 6 in some of these spots. It's not too hard of an ask to have Jackson Hayes be the main guy to go out and play those minutes. I think he ends up being somebody that at 3,300, if you're maxing that out, you're just going to get a completely different build. He gives you access to some other things. I'm going to contemplate that over the next half hour, Jackson Hayes.
Yeah, I'd rather play Rui. I think Rui's
he's got way more upside, but I'm saying like just as a salary saver to get to Luka and Jokic in lineups, to get to, the question we had about Sabonis and Jokic in lineups.
Rui's cheap. Rui's $4,100 on DK, and he is $3,900 on FanDuel.
Yeah, that's doable.
I think Rui has to be he doesn't have to be, but if I'm looking to play any bench player from the Lakers, Rui's the most sensible one to me.
Yeah, Max Christie makes me want to gouge my eyes out, so there's that.
What did he do to you?
Well, it just doesn't do anything when I click on his name. And then the one game against Houston, the most difficult defensive matchup, I play Showdown, and it's a 1v1 away from winning everything. And I was just beside myself. I lost because of Max Christie. Get out of here.
All right, let's go ahead into the Discord channel. One of the perks being a Stochastic member, you get access to the Discord channel. You can ask us questions whenever you want. If you guys want to sign up for Stochastic, there's a link below in the description box. Well, links to all of our different packages. But if you do sign up for our Sims package, you get access to everything on the site. The lineup generator, the contest generator, the Sims tool, player projections, ownership projections, everything. Get on the site when you sign up using that link below. And of course, access to the Discord as well. Starting here with Captain Akella, who says, finally, the dynamic duo is back. He's looking forward to Nuke of the Night, which we're going to be doing here in a second. He also wants to know who's one guy who should be playing in a single entry tonight. So anybody that stands out to you from a single entry, or should we just kind of package this together with the Nuke of the Night and play the animation?
I guess, we can tie that in with the Nuke of the Night. Derek Lively's way more popular today than yesterday, so it's going to be hard. A lot of box score chasing going on with Strother, with Lively. There's some uncomfortable chalk as I'm looking at it. I'm very curious where the Sims tool gets us together here on this sucker, but I will say one person, just because we've talked about the studs, I think you and I both prefer getting to Jokic over Doncic at this point. I think that might be the main pivot you talk about, considering one's pulling more ownership than the other.
Yeah, and we've got Jokic right now projected for 17.7% ownership, and then Luka at 12.9%. But with that said, the ownership is going to update just now. I've never seen this before.
That was incredible.
I pressed the refresh button not even a second ago. I've got the just now. So I got it at the exact second that it updated. Let's see what this is looking like now. So now that Vanderbilt is out for the Lakers, we have Luka projected now for 15.1% ownership, and we've got Jokic at 16.9. So it's almost the exact same ownership on DK. On FanDuel, we've got Jokic at 24.2% and Luka at 16.6%. They're also a lot more expensive on FanDuel. 12.3 for Luka. 12.4 for Luka, 12.3 for Jokic. They're very, very expensive on FanDuel. Going to be hard to get both of them into the same lineup. DK also hard for them to get into the same lineup, but my preference is still going to be Jokic over Luka.
Yes.
Jordan, play the animation. It is time. It is time for the nuke of the night. Big explosion. Now, Eric, who's going to blow up in our lineups today? Who's the nuke of the night that's going to bring us to the top of GPPs yet again?
I feel awful that DeMar DeRozan went off yesterday because I was pretty positive I was going to play a ton of him here on this slate, and I'm still going to get to him for sure. But there's one guy that just, without a doubt, I think is massively underrated here on this specific slate, and it is Donovan Mitchell going up against Boston. It's a back-to-back, 9,200. He's sub 5%, and you're getting a little bit of a discount off of some of these other guys. Now, people are shying away because, one, Drew Holiday very good at defense. Two, this is now up to an 11.5 spread. Three, Caris LeVert is back, but there's at least some massive opportunity at that kind of an ownership here. I just find it silly that with Evan Mobley off the floor, that we're just not going to try to roster anything whatsoever because of a difficult spot against Boston. This is going to be a theme all season long because Boston's a very difficult matchup for everybody. They're going to be double-digit favorites against lots of teams, lots of good teams. Cleveland isn't the floor of the NBA by any means. But if this thing is competitive, 9,200, shooting guard, point guard, it's just so easy for me to see that kind of ownership coming in on a player that he's the only way this game stays in check whatsoever. And 9,200 for a sub 5% guy on a 5-game slate. These are the kind of plays that, you talk about nuking it. It's well, it's all relative to their ownership. You can get 3x, 4x the field so easy on a guy like this. And he's cheaper than a LeBron, cheaper than an AD, cheaper than obviously the major studs that we're talking about in Jokic and Doncic. And there's so much shaky value that you can get to a mid-range or a mid-range play over some of these punt plays in your lineups. I love getting to studs in those kind of situations. So Donovan Mitchell, 4.5% on DraftKings, 9,200, price coming down a little bit as he started to accumulate minutes next to Darius Garland, nuke of the night.
For myself, this is somebody who was quite popular an hour ago, still picking up some ownership, but not as much as it was. James Harden. James Harden projected for 18% ownership. Now, he is the least owned of the 3 stars from the Clippers. We've got Paul George more popular. Kawhi is one of the most popular plays on the slate. It's a good matchup against the Kings. It's a game that's going to be really high scoring. But as builds are becoming a little bit more stars and scrubs now, as people are paying up for Luka, paying up for Jokic, I feel like Harden's gotten lost in the mix a little bit, where this was a guy earlier in the day who was projected for, mid-high 20% ownership. Now down in the teens at ownership for James Harden. He's somebody who I like getting to at $7,800. Get yourself on a little bit of a different roster build. And then also a little bit of leverage off of the likes of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, who are also going to be quite popular on the slate. So I'm going with James Harden, Eric.
Do you see Kawhi Leonard? He's the top play over on OddsShopper today, under 25.5 points, 36 OS rating, which is ginormous. You rarely see that in the NBA, especially with no injury news really pending there on the Clippers side of things. Find that to be a nice telltale sign that, well, there's sharp sports books that are saying that Kawhi is overvalued in the marketplace. I'm not saying that he's overvalued from a DFS perspective because he's still really, really cheap, but I love that idea of having somebody that everybody's riding the wave on a back-to-back here in this spot. And James Harden, they're starting to figure this out, just not sharing the floor nearly as much with Russell Westbrook. It's opened up things here for this team, and I think they're only going to get better. They're too talented not to. And, for all the sky is falling people there for the Clippers early on, do I find it inspiring they couldn't go out and stomp out Portland without Ayton, without Brogdon yesterday? No. But James Harden sitting there with the highest assist rate now on the team, a little bit higher than that of Russell Westbrook. Now we're starting to see him start to get that effective field goal percentage up there, sitting around 58% now. He's shooting 41% from 3 as well. I mean, he's been better than I think he's been given credit for. And I like capturing that upside. So that's a really good call by you.
Yep, James Harden. He was somebody who, even before when he was chalky, he was getting overweight to the field on. Now the ownership's come down. So James Harden, that is going to be somebody who I like getting overweight to the field to today. Mavericks starting lineup, Luka, Curry, Exum, Grant Williams, and Lively. So nothing unexpected there in that starting unit. And a super chat from Bug Boy. Boy, Bug Boy does nothing but take shots at everybody around here. Bug Boy saying, the Sims tools make him smile, but Eric makes him frown. Thoughts, Eric?
Douche.
All right. I think he makes some good points. Some more questions coming to us. This now from the Discord channel. We have here Clyde. Clyde is asking us, if Kuminga replaces Looney or Wiggins in the starting lineup, how much of him would you want? Yeah, if Kuminga moves into the starting lineup, I'd like him quite a bit.
I would too. Like, how would you not?
It's not something I expect to happen, though. Is that something that you think is within the cards for today?
I don't. I haven't thought about it one time. Let me take a look. I mean, Wiggins sucks. Like, we can establish that. This has been pretty bad, but he's at least a good defender and at least somebody that you want to have out on the floor. There's no Kevin Durant, so I guess having a wing defender less pertinent, but like in these pick and roll spots with Devin Booker, I mean, Devin Booker is the main guy you need to be paying close attention to here. Grayson Allen out as well. Nasir Little being out. I mean, it's a weird spot here to just say that would be something that would be on my radar. I would be very, very surprised if he started.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a sound clip from Steve Kerr that we missed out on or something like that, but it's not something I'm anticipating. But yeah, if it happens, I would certainly like him quite a bit. Next question that we have here is from Tim Lee. He wants to know, hi, flag plant if possible. Who's someone who are planting our flag in tonight, Eric?
I mean, there's been a lot of innuendo on this program. I feel as though I don't want to say flag plant, Strother, or Exum. I'm a little bit below, although I have them in lineups. Strother makes a lot of things work. I see why he's so popular. I don't think he'll be 60%. I'd be surprised if he's 60%, but I'm currently 35%. Pretty okay with that. Looking at some of those lineups, I think that I have enough contrarian pieces. The James Harden piece, I like that. I'm going to give him a tiny bit of an ROI boost, make my way onto him here. It's not even as much as like I have flag plants. I have guys that I am fading at their current ownership. I mean, I am way under on Austin Reeves here. Pretty much all the news broke away from him having the utility. I also don't think people understand. D'Angelo Russell is somebody that I like for tournaments today. He comes off of a bubble / playoff situation / in-season tournament, whatever you want to call it. Like, D'Angelo Russell had a very easy path to failure. We talked about that multiple times there before that Phoenix game, before the Pelicans game. And then Indy, he ended up playing a lot better at times. They kept him out on the floor because Indy brings a guy in Halliburton where it's like, all right, well, let's just shoot out. Let's just go back and forth a little bit. And D'Angelo Russell fits that a little bit more. 27.4%. I'm happier to get to him at his ownership than I am Austin Reeves at his, which is kind of wild to say because I've kind of been an Austin Reeves stand for that entire in-season tournament.
Got another question here. This one is from Rocky Raccoon 7. He says, think Smash Mouth is a song that needs to be reevaluated. Check out Cool Daddy Cool from the kids' film Osmosis Jones, where Kid Rock openly talks about his okay.
What in the world?
So anyway, I'm also going to bring up, it's another song, Eric, that I've long suspected may have some sexual innuendo in it. What? There's this song called WAP by Cardi B. I think that might be about sex as well.
Dude, obvious.
I don't feel as strongly about it as I do about the Smash Mouth song. But I think that Cardi B song.
Cool, Greg. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate you. Love doing these shows.
The first words in the song are whores in this house.
Okay. I couldn't keep a straight face. That was pretty good. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house.
I mean, it's very creative wordsmithing in that song. But I don't know. It seems to be about sex to me. Seems to be. What else do we have as far as questions go? No more super chats, but by the way, 18 minutes to go until lock, guys. We've also got Luista11 says core for owners box. Jordan, can you build some lineups for Owner's Box in the Sims tool, and then we'll pull them up on screen in a little bit here? Because I do not have lineups built for Owner's Box, so that'll help, and then we can pull it up and we can look at that for Luista. Miami High Life wants to know, who are my highest owned pay ups and pay downs for DKGBP? So I'm rerunning my lineups right now. I'm fairly confident that I'm going to have Jokic as my most rostered spend up option. And then on the cheap end, I'm certainly going to get to a good amount of Strother. As a contrarian option, Rui not project for all that much ownership. He's somebody else I think I'm going to be overweight to the field too. Eric, high end and low end, who are your favorite guys on each end?
Yeah, high end, I like getting to, again, I'm getting to 22% of Donovan Mitchell. So when he's Nuke of the night, it's mainly just relative to the ownership. I like getting to Jokic. I'm with you. I like getting to him. He's my guy tonight out of the spend ups. I will put, the Donovan Mitchell play alongside Anthony Davis, who I think is pretty nice to get to here against Lively and against this Dallas front court that isn't going to be able to they're not going to be able to do anything against AD. AD, you saw it against Indy. He can do whatever he wants when he wants to. It's just a question of what mood is Anthony Davis in today? I don't know how to project that out. It just seems like power forward center going to be a really easy thing to land on at 9,800 for today's slate. On the bottom end of things, I'm getting to primarily the Julian Strother play, although I am under the field here on him, like getting to D'Angelo. Well, I guess that's not like on the bottom end here of guys that I'm getting to. This is an awful one, but yeah, Peyton Pritchard, I have a little bit of here as well as 24%. I'm kind of spreading it out amongst some of these 3K guys because there's nobody that I have some kind of like a massive feel is like the smash, like Olivier Maxine's Prosper. Now I've looked up his first name. Congratulations to me, but like, I don't feel good about him. We now have him for 19 minutes, but I think there's a path to 22, 24. And just rotating through some of these cheapies, I like Rui Hachimura was a really good call by you. I'm adding that to, some of the Torian Prince that I had here as well. I feel better about him at 4,100 identical price tag than I do Torian Prince. So I'm going to just kind of increase that here as well before lock.
Stan0302 wants to know, will Hardy still get good run with Hardaway back? Not enough for him to be like a core guy that I'm building around or anything.
Hardy got good run yesterday out of the middle of nowhere. I think 34 minutes for him was just completely, it goes to speak for like, if you get hot off the bench, he went 5 for 7 from 3. Like, you can play yourself into extra minutes as a shooter. You can also play yourself off of extra minutes as a shooter. Now his price has gone up to 4,600. I look at him with no ownership, so go ahead and try to take that shot again. But like, there are plays that are identical in terms of like what I project them for and their minutes that are 3,700, that are 3,800. So I can save $800 and get to the identical, completely unowned plays of that of a Jaden Hardy. I'll do that just about every time.
We've got, let's circle back on Malcolm Revamp's question. He wants to know core plays for tonight. So we've got a little bit more news and information now. Who are we going to call our core guys for the night, Eric? Who are we really building around?
Dante Exum. It looks like I'm just jamming him. I just finished it up. It doesn't feel good. I feel like a chalk donkey. Nay. Well, there you go.
You don't know the difference between the noise that donkeys make and horses make?
There you go. There it was. That was better.
You did a horse noise.
I know I did. I'm an idiot, though. I'm working here, okay? I'm trying to get my lineups in. How about you?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. I'm running everything through.
Because I mean, there's just been a lot. This has been like obnoxious. I think it's way more obnoxious on a 5-game slate to get like this little ticky-tack pieces of news because you have to adjust for it. But then it's always like, do I want to give more minutes to, like we just talked about him, so I'll bring him up. Like, do I want to give more minutes to Jaden Hardy here? Or do I need to take some away with Tim Hardaway and Grant Williams being back, but then Derek Jones Jr.'s out? And like, how are these rotations going to work? And it's like, you're changing minutes to the 8th and 9th guys on benches on 5-game slates where like, I don't really have to, I'll just be honest. There's a lot of times that I don't do that on larger slates, like a 13-game slate yesterday. Why would you need to? Like, I don't need to change those things. Like, I want to have an idea of where those minutes are functioning, but like, there's only like 4 or 5 guys that are in play on any specific team besides Dallas yesterday, where you could have played a lot of guys. It's just one of those things where everybody matters on these 5-gamers.
All right. I'm going to read off my core guys right here. And Yeah, kind of the same with you, Eric, where I think Strother and Exum they're two good pieces of chalk, in my opinion. And it's not
whoa. You think Julian Strother, it's like I think he has utility because he's cheap, but he's not like good chalk. That would be crazy for me to say.
Well, I'm saying that like he's somebody, if you're building your lineups, I think it's a mistake if you don't have like at least like 25 to 30% of Strother. Which
there you go. But that's an important differentiation, I think, for the people to hear that, like, that's something that makes way more sense to me than saying, like, because there's times you look at chalk and it's like, oh, TJ McConnell's starting at 3,800. Like, that's a can't miss 100% slam dunk piece of chalk. That's not what Julian Strother is tonight.
Yeah, he's not somebody who I would advocate for fading or anything like that. So,
okay.
Strother is somebody who I'm going to be getting into a good amount of lineups because I'm just looking at my final version here. I'm really happy this ended up being the case after I run everything through the Sims. I have, of my 150 lineups I'm playing today, 75 of them have Rui Hachimura. I have 50% exposure to Hachimura, who's only projected for 13% ownership. I like that. That's a contrarian guy. You might have been onto something. I might have to tip the dealer if this works out. And by that, I mean tip the dealer. I've got a good amount of Harden, also something I wanted to do. And then my most roster pay up is Jokic. So I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Those are where I'm going to land on as my four guys.
I'm going to play Jackson Hayes too. I don't think people are recognizing that Jackson Hayes probably going to play 20 minutes.
Save these.
We have him for 13. I think that's low.
13.
He was playing 19, 21. I mean, his minutes were directly affected by Jared Vanderbilt returning.
Wasn't there also a time where Rui was out?
There was, but I'm saying that like the backup, you're not going to have Rui play backup 5. That's my problem is like, I think you're playing, I guess 13 minutes. We're basically saying he is not playing. It's going to be like a 1-for-1 swap off 80. So if we have 80 for 35 minutes and we play Jackson Hayes for 13, I think that actually makes sense, but feels like there's some opportunity for that to go up a little bit. I think you're right. Let me look at some of the overlap. Let me look at some of these box scores. Mainly, if Jackson Hayes wasn't 3,300, I wouldn't be thinking about this at all, and I wouldn't care.
Let's see what else we have as far as questions. Here we've got DC24. Are we okay with Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi in the same lineup? I am not. That's too much exposure to the Clippers core guys there.
Yeah, too much. Somebody said Wood or Hayes. Definitely Hayes between the two.
Got some more questions in the Discord channel. Right here, we've got the Black Mamba asking, are we concerned about Exum with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Grant Williams back? I mean, you still got Kyrie out. He's still starting. Could we see a little bit
and you're
reduction?
taking Derek Jones off for the whole game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of like, and Derek Jones Jr., correct me if I'm wrong, a little bit better in the fantasy department than one Grant Williams. Grant Williams, 0.7 fantasy points per minute on the season. I mean, that is just something to be looking at. And then where did he go? Did we just have him drop out? Let me find where Derek Jones Jr. on the season, 0.85 fantasy point per minute guy. So yeah, Grant Williams, you're not exactly 1-for-1 replacing. You have a much lower fantasy output guy going on the floor next to him. So I think probably a benefit.
We also have some more questions in here. By the way, Kevin Durant out today, expected to play tomorrow, but I assume that Bradley Beal will sit tomorrow because it's tail end of back-to-back. They're just never going to get these three guys together on the court at one time this year. Eventually.
Why can't we have nice things?
Because we would ruin it then, Eric. Modub T wants to know best power forward 5,200 and under on DK. Right, 5,200 and under. Grant Williams.
You think so?
Yeah, it's a shitty price range.
Yeah. How many minutes do you think Grant Williams is going to play, though? Because it was a knee injury.
I mean, he's starting.
I know he's starting, but I would expect him to start. He started every game he's appeared in.
I'm not massively it's not like he missed an extended period of time. He missed a couple of games.
He's missed a week. Over a week. He missed 10 days, and now he's playing.
That's not
I'm at least nervous about it. I'm at least worried about it. Just want to throw it out there.
Yeah, I think around 30 minutes is reasonable, though.
Okay, yeah, I have him for 26, and I'm not getting to him. That's why I'm throwing it out there.
IC50 wants to know, is Dalen Terry too thin? I do have some exposure to Dalen Terry. Not a lot, but he's in like 10% of my lineups.
Okay.
He's the flat min, and he enables you to pay up for guys like Luka and Jokic. So I have exposure to him. I mean, we're talking about Julian Strawther's like 60% owned. It's not that insane to play Dalen Terry lineups.
Oh, yeah, it'll be fun. I can't wait to get to the end of the night. That'll be fun.
Yep. I've got 10% of, actually, let me get the exact number I have. What?
I don't know if I love this slate or I absolutely hate it. I have no idea because I mean, I feel like I'm getting everything done the way that I want to. I'm just.
Dalen Terry's in 9.3% of my lineups. Pat Clay Tomstar wants to know, how much of former All-Star Clay are you smashing tonight?
Former, the key word in that sentence.
Clay Thompson is in 0.7% of my lineups, 1 out of 150 of Clay Thompson.
That is so amazing to hear out loud. On a 5-game slate, a guy who we've seen knock down 9 threes. It's like, I don't need you. It's true, but that's where we're at. I have 0 of him in 50, so there you go.
We've got a super chat here from Spencer Sharp, who says best guard 5,100 and under, but it cannot be Strawther or Curry. Cannot be Strawther or Curry. All right, guard 5,100 and under. Who's around that range? Dosunmu. Dosunmu is right at $5,100. Alex Caruso's out. He's a little bit overpriced for sure, but considering that price point, it's Dosunmu for me. Anybody else you would add 5,100 or under?
At guard?
Yep.
Is Eric drunk? No, I'm just working with Greg and I'm always stressed. Let's see. Terrence Mann, but like that doesn't inspire awe either.
Yeah. Dosunmu for me. Dosunmu for me.
I would.
Steinium, super chat, wants to know Prosper tonight. Eric likes Prosper as a contrarian option.
Yeah. Yep. Live long and prosper. I have a little bit of prosper in my life.
I don't know. I have less than 10%, but he's in my player pool. He's like in the Dalen Terry tier for me.
It's fair.
We've got Clyde is asking, what about the question, pour some sugar on me? That is about baking cakes. Min Cash Merchant, I'm getting to 50% Monk. Am I insane? 50% Monk. Yeah, that's a little 50. Aggressive.
I'll teach you how to stunt, man.
50% Monk is a lot.
It's a lot of Monk.
I have him in 26% of lineups. I would dial that back a little bit if you have 50% Monk.
Yeah, I would find a way to not have much for that is for sure.
We've got Richie. So we got Rich Green, who helps us with the projections, part of our data science team. So if you guys do sign up to stochastic.com, you guys will see Rich is pretty frequently in the chat answering you guys' questions and hanging out. He says that his mom thought WAP meant we are praying and was leaving WAP for you when her Facebook friends shared the news with her. I could see how that song would be confused for that.
No. It'd be one thing if she wasn't going like she really does let it rip a little bit in that song.
Yeah, well, I think there's this one bar where it's bring me a bucket and a mop for this wet ass pussy. I could understand how that could be confused to mean other things. It could really mean anything. It could be religious. It could.
Oh my God. I have to get my lineups in. Don't do this. Don't do this to me right now. Oh my God.
Dude. Right, you do your lineups. I'll answer some questions here.
It's so fucking funny.
256 wants to know any interest in Zubats on DK.
Oh, yes, of course I do.
I liked Zubats a ton earlier. He's still somebody he is my third most rostered center. The centers I have more of him are Derek Lively, Nikola Jokic, and then Zubats. Zubats was probably going to be my most rostered center earlier in the day. And then, circumstances changes, some more value opens up. And then also Jamal Murray getting ruled out makes Jokic a higher priority. So he's my third most rostered center, though. So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Tall Tale wants to know if Cam Reddish is worth a shot in single entry.
He's fine. He's just a dude.
I wouldn't play him in single entry, but yes, I do like Reddish.
Yep. Tony
The
Snell.
guy I'd prefer to. I'm playing him in single entry. Rui. I'm playing Rui.
I'm playing more Rui than I'm comfortable saying out loud now. Mainly because it shows that I approve of the play and I have to agree with you on something, which I really don't want to do all the time.
And then Heflove is asking Joker over Luka because of ownership, or you like him just because of usage. So it's the ownership is very similar between the two. It's Jokic is the better fantasy producer. I know that Luka's had some crazy games as of late, but if you go back to last year, Jokic is the better fantasy producer. There's no Jamal Murray for the Nuggets tonight. This is typically a situation where we see some really, really big ceiling games for Jokic. So Jokic over Luka for me. The player I'm most uncomfortable with, Eric, that I'm not getting to a ton of in light of all the news that's broken today is I don't have a ton of Devin Booker. I don't feel great about that.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I don't have either. It's just so hard to get to him. Like, how do you get to Devin Booker today?
Sorry. Sunflower wants to know, who do we expect to play more minutes, Seth Curry or Strother? I expect Seth Curry to play more minutes.
I do too.
Now, who do I have more exposure to? Strother. But I still do expect Seth Curry to play more minutes. But part of that too, what is Curry priced at? Don't forget, Curry is like $1,000 more expensive.
Sure is.
Curry's $4,500. Strother's $3,500 with shooting guard and small forward eligibility. So that's the difference there.
Yep.
$1,000 makes a massive difference when you're building lineups, especially today when there isn't that much value.
That is correct.
All right, let me just double check and make sure I didn't miss anything. Mincash Merchant wants to know how much Drummond I'm getting to. He's in 6 of my 150 lineups. Basically, somebody who exists, who made it like as a last man in a couple lineups. Nothing significant. Did you prioritize Drummond at all?
No.
There are a lot of slates where if there isn't value available, I'll just plug in Drummond because he is a guy who could score a lot of fantasy points in limited minutes. But there's a good amount of centers I like today.
Yeah, yesterday, 4,400. I think he was, I saw him in some winning lineups yesterday, which was hilarious because, like, you had the entire board to play and you played a guy who was going to play 14 minutes, 15 minutes like he does every night. Played 14 minutes, put up 32.5 fantasy points, which is just silly that on yesterday's slate where there was infinity value that the guy who played 14 minutes got there for somebody. But that is what Andre Drummond does from time to time. The problem for me is that there's a lot of places that had him projected a lot better than I was expecting. So I hit eject. I'm just playing the Livelies, the Zubotses, the guys who I think are actually playing minutes.
Drummond's had some just insane points per minute games. You mentioned
outrageous.
Yesterday, 14 minutes, 32.5 fantasy points. And he had a game last week as well, 31.5 fantasy points in 13 minutes. So the guy's just been destroying from a points per minute basis. But how much can you reasonably count on that? Especially now he's been priced up. He's $4,800. So, a couple of lineups, I had him in there as the last man in, but wasn't anybody actively targeted. It was just, hey, showed up in the Sims in a couple lineups, but I'm likely going to be underweight to him, which is not typically the case for me with Drummond. I usually try to get him into lineups, but $4,800, a little bit of a different situation. Eric, we are at lock, and I have to ask you, which player are you most nervous about? Because I just said for myself that I didn't end up getting to very much of Devin Booker. And not because Devin Booker was a guy who I didn't want to get to, but really just because we got Luka. We had Jokic. Who for you are the player you most nervous didn't land in a bunch of your lineups?
Got it here. Feel like Kawhi's the answer, but I'm not positive. It's a back-to-back for both these teams. It's kind of a wonky spot for me. It's gotta be, well, I have like no Paul George, so that's probably the right answer. Probably Paul George.
What do I have? What do I end up with on Paul George? Oh, yeah.
I do think you're kind of just like grasping at straws. And there's going to be a lot of games where all of them go off. That kind of happened yesterday against Portland, but I'm with you where I think playing the ownership game makes a lot of sense in some of these spots. So out of the guys who just locked, the one that I'm probably the most nervous about, I ended up anybody on Boston, like anybody going completely nuts. I think that would be extremely problematic. Peyton Pritchard I ended up playing, but like he just falls into the bucket of all the guys you can punt with. Starting lineup exactly what we expected from Denver, so that's good.
Reggie Jackson and his cool rec specs. We got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We've got Michael Porter Jr. We've got Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic. No surprises there. By the way, if anybody looks at this, just say, oh my God, Strother isn't starting. We weren't expecting Strother to start.
We did not.
Let me look at my exposures. I don't think I have a single player on the Celtics in more than 10% of lineups. All right, 10% of Jaylen Brown, but that's really it for me. I have 9% of Peyton Pritchard. So yeah, I'm with you. There are I would not like guys from the Celtics to go off tonight, Eric. That is not a.
That would be bad. I don't know if I have out of 50 lineups. I'd be curious how many Celtics I got to that weren't Peyton Pritchard. I ended up with 29% Peyton Pritchard. I had 53 lineups to be exact for what it's worth, which is why it's an odd number. But let's see. And I played him in the $40 single entry. So I think he was in my single entry lineup. Bradley Beal would be bad. I have almost none of him. I'm just going through guys that I'm under on. I guess I have a decent amount of Kawhi. I have 22%. I don't think that's nothing. Just looking at the top of the board. I think the better thing is it's like I have 82% Julian Strawther now. I don't feel good about it. I'm planning on doing something about that before lock. That feels like too much Julian Strawther. It's pretty much the exact opposite of anything that I would do back in the day of playing NBA DFS. But the Sims tool, it's smarter than I am. It's smarter than all of us. And, you have to be able to just kind of say, all right, I understand there's a path to failure. But even in his failures, if you can get other players as a result of a $3,500 tag who's going to be on the floor and get you 10, get you 12, there's a lot of paths to still winning a tournament with that one snowflake in your lineup. So I think having Julian Strawther is probably the right way to play this slate. But let me tell you, it feels awful because everything in me doesn't want to do it.
What is the ownership from this first game? I want to pull this up here. And then let's look for some bets. We'll pull up Odd Shopper. And if people want access to Odd Shopper, there's a link to sign up for it below. You can use the promo code Greg to get 20% off, or you can use the promo code Lindy, Lindy, which choose your fighter, whichever one you want to use. It doesn't make a difference to us, but it's fun for a little bit of rivalry purposes. If you sign up with OddsShopper using either of our names, Greg or Lindy, you get 20% off. And we'll look for some of our favorite bets shortly. But first, I wanted to pull up the $15 on DK and look at what some of the ownership is from the early locking game.
Hang on, I can pull it up for you. You want to play the guessing game? I think the guessing games, we haven't done that all year long. Oh, never mind. Well, screw me. Never mind.
Yeah, I already have the CSV in front of me. And most notably here, I'm very happy about this. Rui Hachimura, 17% owned. Didn't end up being massively popular. I've got him in half my lineup, so I'm well overweight to Rui Hachimura. We've got Peyton Pritchard ended up being 9%. And I saw people in the chat saying, why is Peyton Pritchard chalk? He's 9%. That's not chalk at all. Yeah. The really popular players.
Austin Reeves is 45%.
That's a lot of Austin Reeves. I wonder if there was people who...
Derek Lively stealing bucket. This guy makes me want to he makes me kind of want to Bojan a little bit. He makes me want to Bojan.
I do have a good amount of Austin Reeves, but I do wonder if there was people who were building lineups just seeing LeBron and AD were questionable and just kind of left them in.
Seth Curry, 8%, 8.84 in the $15. What a time to be alive.
AD is 22% owned.
A little bit lower than projected.
And where's LeBron?
Peyton Pritchard. Derek White ended up 16.69%. I had him in 2 lineups, which again, I don't know. Derek White, 6,400. Every time I look at that, it always makes me feel a little bit weird that like Derek White's been relatively good this season. Like he's been deserving of a $6,400 price tag. That always catches me off guard.
And by the way, clarification, what we said in the chat. Strawther not starting, but we weren't expecting him to start. It doesn't matter.
That's what we were saying. Never expected him to start. We didn't expect Rui to start. We didn't expect a lot of these guys that we've been recommending and talking about to start. It's a 5-game slate. You got to play guys who aren't starting. You just do.
And there are no more questions in the Discord channel. So Jordan Klein, do us a favor, throw up Odd Shopper onto the screen. Let's look for some bets. that Eric and I might want to give out. And like we said before, if you guys want to sign up to Odd Chopper, you're getting a lot of stuff. You're getting our Plus EV betting model we're about to show on screen. You're also getting, if you guys play on Prize Picks, Underdog, any of those sites, by the way, Underdog sponsored the show today. We've got projections for those sites in here. We've got the Parlay Builder on Odd Chopper. You also get access to the Discord channel. So in the Discord channel, Eric and I post some additional bets. We answer questions people have throughout the day. So all this comes with the bundle at Odd Chopper. And it's only $50 a month, so relatively cheap. And in addition to that, you do get the 20% off. You sign up with the promo codes Greg or Lindy. Let's see what is showing up here. I'm going to have to pull this up on my screen because that's hard to read.
Dante Exum with a quick 5. That's always nice to see in a guy who's in 100% of your lineups.
Oh, you went the lock button on Dante Exum?
Pretty close. Let me double check. I would have if I had a figmented lock button. We'll find out. I ended up with 83.9%. That's a lot of Dante Exum.
He is 63.5%.
Unreal.
$15.
Hang on.
Yeah, you got Lindquist. We need to send Eric back to elementary school so we can learn the noises. Show him the picture of the cow. What does the cow make? And then he has to do the moo, because that was quite disappointing before when he tried to do the donkey and he just started neighing.
Some of those.
That was disturbing.
Well, it is what it is. You deal with it and you move on.
Let's look for some bets here on Odd Shopper. What, if anything, is standing out to you here on the screen, Eric? Because I see some stuff that I like here, but what is your favorite bet for the remaining games?
Hey, Devin Booker to double-double plus 300. I mean, Bet Rivers I don't have access to. That would be awesome. But looking at Drew Eubanks, under 4.5 rebounds here, they're just saying, Nurkic, you're going to play a lot of minutes. And I'm not sure that I disagree with that here. It's a guy that has overall been disappointing relative to expectations there for Drew Eubanks, who's been a serviceable backup big in some of these spots. But again, 16, 18 minutes of him. People get freaked out sometimes clicking on unders, but he averages legitimately 4.5 rebounds per game. And there's so many ways that against this Golden State team that they can go small. They can really make life hell for you. But we're explaining things that are already explained by the price of the Sharp book. And we're comparing it to a lesser book there in a Bet 365 that we don't find to be as sharp. And so you get the opportunity to short it at a number like this, plus 115. I know that's over there for you in New Jersey. So I would be taking advantage of that if I were you.
Bradley Beal's over-under for points is 19.5 tonight. That seems high. That seems pretty high for a guy who I don't think is going to play a massive amount of minutes. We've seen his minutes are going to be capped somewhere in the high 20s. So Bradley Beal, the best available line is on ESPN Bet. You're getting under 19.5 points at minus 125. It's minus 150 on DK. It's 18.5 points on FanDuel. You give me under 19.5 for Bradley Beal. Pretty lofty number for a guy who, like we said, isn't going to play a ton. I guess maybe the one thing if you had to poke holes in it, kind of be like, you remember last year or 2 years ago, I guess now, when Clay first came back and he was playing limited minutes and they really force fed him the ball to get him more shots. But I mean,
but again, that's like a range of outcomes thing. Like Bradley Beal, he played 24 minutes in his debut on the 8th. This has been a back problem. Like he played on November 8th. He played 24 minutes, put up 13 points. Then he goes up to 32 and 30. Now he was playing alongside Kevin Durant. This will be, I believe, our first time that we see him playing alongside Devin Booker. So now it's a different situation. He will be playing off the ball, which should be really enjoyable here for Bradley Beal, I'm sure as well. I'm with you. I think I'm going to be adding that one to the card. Underdog, really nice. Does Underdog have a number for it? See this.
We've got a super chat, by the way, from Nick Thompson. He's saying, we watched Greg Whip and Eric Nene. All right, another music reference.
Wow, that was a smart one, though. That was a high-level joke. Props.
I got to be honest. I'm looking at more of the lyrics from that song, WAP, I was talking about before. I really think that there might be sexual undertones to this song.
I think you might be right, Gregory. I think that is a really, really good assumption.
Do you think this is, so there's this one bar here. It's going in dry. It's coming out soggy. Do you think it's about laundry? Do you think is that about laundry? By the way, there are some now that I'm looking through the rest of the lyrics, there are some things that just when you read it in text are hilarious.
Dude, some of my favorite things to do are just like going through some different rap lyrics. I used to have my grandma like try to read rap lyrics once upon a time because I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. It was like a Mad TV bit back in the day, where they did like they would read it off, and it's let me find it here. Also watched 8 Mile the other day. Wasn't as good as I remember. I was kind of disappointed.
Did Cheddar?
It's a great.
Did Cheddar Bob still shoot himself in the leg on rewatch?
He still does, 100% still. And then it's like, oh, well, I like the diss where it's like, oh, he shot off his dick. That was pretty good by the Free World. That was the gang, the opposing rap group.
You would think after 20 years he would stop shooting himself in the leg, but just not the case at all. Not the case.
Dude, put that away. Okay. Not good. Not good.
That's fine too. If he ate my ass, he's a bottom feeder. That also, that might be.
I think that's about fish at the bottom of an aquarium. You know, it's like a guppy, just scooping them up.
Oh, it could be. But what's the ass part then?
You know, I think that it's like a joking term. It's like, oh, look at that ass, and it's a goldfish. It's just like a little goldfish.
I bet she doesn't even wipe. Yeah, boy, there's a lot of stuff in this song. I'm
just in my place of employment trying to make people money. And then also, I don't know, Cleveland's up 9-4 right out of the gate. Donovan
went to
Mitchell.
The bench very quickly for somebody starting well.
Well, if he got hurt, I am going to. If this happens to me back-to-back days where the guy that I absolutely jam gets boxed out of things here, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Yeah, that's weird. Why did he go to the bench? Tim Hardaway Jr. need to get him his reps. Oh, he already got a foul. That's nifty. Are they saying Dante Exum, we need to stagger you with Luka? I think that's what it is. I think that's more of what it is.
Could be. You can't you can't have one of Luka. You have to have Luka or Exum on the court.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, it's just got to be because I mean Exum, you know, he's that number 2 that you would expect for Luka Doncic.
Yeah. What are his MVP odds?
Let's take a look. Oh, infinity. That's cool.
I'm getting song requests in the chat. I've never heard of this one before.
What about Clarence Carter Stroking? I don't think we're gonna read that one on chat.
Well, let's see.
All right, here we go.
You know this song, by the way?
No, I don't.
Clarence Carter.
It's called Stroking, so I can imagine.
Yeah, you know this better than me because this is from 1986. So you were in high school at the time, but I wasn't born yet. So I'm not familiar with this song quite as much.
So similar to what we have the wagon of the day. This needs to be the new post-lock deal where Greg Ehrenberg at the halfway point of the post-lock show reads a rap lyric. So I just want to have like a theater background with Greg Ehrenberg in the middle coming up to a microphone about to rap and do his spoken word piece for the people.
So I actually do know this song now that I've looked at the lyrics. And this is a hilarious song. This is a hilarious song. But yeah, very important to read off some of these lyrics. I stroke it to the east. I stroke it to the west. I stroke it to the woman that I love the best. I be stroking. What do you think inspired him to write this song?
Golf.
Golf? Good point. I think this could be about golf. What do you think his handicap was?
The 3-wood between his legs. I don't know. Just an absolute hammer. Josh Engelman would be proud. What do you think his hammer looks like? Got to put it in the chat just now.
Yeah, I'm going to put this song on after the show ends. This is a good song. It's a good song. Yeah, I think
I know that one from Trey's song. Yeah.
Yeah, I think his biggest handicap
is a penny dropper.
It's probably hard for him to turn his hips.
Could you imagine the back problems? It's not even functional. I don't know. There's some of that going on at there's a establishment that's very nice in Las Vegas, I believe, by the same name.
Now we're going a little bit far
place.
here. Noah Rosen in the chat wants to know if we could read some lyrics to songs while Josh does the glizzy in the background.
Can we pull up the clip? Pull up the clip, Jordan Klein. This is on you. Man. Sometimes, there's a day, it's like my allergies are really bad. My chest is convoluted. I've been working, just running the TikTok streets, trying to jump in. Go follow me at Lindy's Locks over on TikTok, by the way, people, if you want to go get some real nice coverage of myself doing ridiculous things like I do every day anyway. But yeah, pretty positive that this is one of those days where it's like, oh yeah, what I do is not normal for a living. This is not a normal thing that people get to do, but I'm damn glad that I get to do it with you. Thanks.
As perfect timing as Josh shows up. As Josh shows up on screen.
Oh, man. All right. This one is a penny drop.
Josh Engelman.
Oh, glizzy. Oh, glizzy.
That will forever live in infamy.
It will. It will.
If you guys haven't done yet, do a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I also want to build some lineups for Showdown tonight, Jordan. If you wouldn't mind, let's do that. Let's try to be productive in these last 10 minutes. We've looked for some bets to give to the people that we liked. Yeah, what's that? Oh, okay. Let's pull up Owner's Box and see what ended up showing up for our Owner's Box. Let's do Showdown tonight. Yeah, I thought Owner's Box had moved the lock back, but my bad. They have not moved the lock back. We do have Owner's Box included in our Sims tool in the contest generator. Let's
do that.
Lots of hot dogs in the chat. Oh my God. This is exciting, Eric. 2 fouls on Anthony Davis. Rui time?
Oh my.
Is it Rui time?
Austin Reeves enters for Anthony Davis. Jackson Hayes for Taurean Prince. Fuck you, Greg. I hate you. God. Oh, I hate you so much. I think I got to like 2% of him. I think I got him in one lineup in the end, and I wanted to jam Jackson Hayes. God, I'm mad at you.
Rui's going to have his time. Rui is going to have his time. Oh my God. If Jackson Hayes is optimal, I'll never live it down. What would actually be the funny? It isn't going to happen because I didn't play any of him. The funniest possible scenario would be Jackson Hayes being in the optimal lineup and me winning with Jackson Hayes.
Why would that be funny? Why would that be funny at all? That would not be funny. I'm the only person talking about Jackson Hayes. I mean, it makes sense. You have Anthony Davis getting foul trouble. The backup center comes in first. Like, that was always going to be the thing. They're not going to play Rui at the 5. You can't play Rui at the 5.
Jackson Hayes did just pick up a personal foul 5 seconds into his first step.
What a dunce cap. Please foul out and make me feel better. Like, give them no option but playing Rui at the 5 just to watch suffering.
Lots of foul trouble for the Lakers, by the way. So Jackson Hayes is a foul. D'Angelo Russell is a foul. Anthony Davis has 2 fouls. Cam Reddish has a foul. I'm still feeling good. Rui's going to get his time. Let's go ahead and look at some of those lineups for Showdown tonight. So if you guys are using the stochastic Sims tools, not only do you get access to the main slates, but stuff like the turbo slates, the late slates, the Showdown slates, all of that is included as well. And one thing that this really does help me with is filtering out some of the lineups that are going to be duped really heavily, because I don't really have a great process to do that on my own before the contest generator, the Sims tool, which will show us which lineups are going to be duped. And actually, Jordan, could you sort by that dupes column there so we could show people which lineups are expected to have the most dupes tonight? Yeah, look at some of these. 157 dupes, 151 dupes, 107 dupes, 100 dupes. So these are lineups that if you were just building a lineup based on fantasy point projection, you might get to some of them. But if you were building lineups and incorporating stuff like our simulated ROI, you wouldn't get to some of these lineups that are massively duped, because that is going to make it so that these lineups don't have quite a high as an ROI, even if they project for a lot of fantasy points. But let's go back and look at some of the exposures of our top lineups that we favored, Jordan, and start by filtering by the captains. Which captains do we get to?
Oh, captain, my captain.
Captain. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis. So we're getting more of the Kings guys in captain, and then followed by Paul George, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. So the three Clippers guys grouped really tightly together, whereas we got the Kings guys more so as the ones that we're getting to more of. De'Aaron Fox, most predominant, followed by Domantas Sabonis. If you're not playing one of the guys that's of all-star caliber for the Showdown, Eric, who are you most inclined to play from the Clippers or the Kings?
Of Showdown caliber. I mean, Zubats has to be like the next guy up for that one. I mean, Zubats with the double-double ability. We've seen him play more minutes. Now, there's certain matchups Daniel Tice makes sense for. Again, he can actually step out and knock down a shot or two from time to time. Zubats, he's out there for different reasons for sure. But I mean, this is a guy in Zubats who fits in nicely with the guys around him here. Has played 42 and 33 minutes his last two outings. The minutes have gone up. He's pretty much firmly got 30 plus minutes, pretty much nonstop. Jackson Hayes' second foul, by the way. That's hilarious. Ivica Zubats, friends.
Now?
Oh, I feel so much better. I was going to be so mad at you if Jackson Hayes got to play like the next 9-10 minutes before Anthony Davis came back in. I would have lost my mind, because then you're basically guaranteeing him 18 minutes at 3,300, and that's whatever. But it's one of those things where I think Zubats, just because he's starting and getting those kind of minutes, Sacramento can go a lot of different directions with their minutes for a number of players, with Malik Monk in a closing lineup, Kevin Huerter closing lineup, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes. Vezenkov has played deeper into fourth quarters at times this season. There's just a little bit more volatility where it's like, barring massive foul trouble or fouling out, Zubats is closing all of these games. He's out on the floor. The only matchups you ever really worry about him are when teams can go really, really small. Trey Lyles, not really somebody that I'm worried about that on the other side for a backup center. So a true center and Sabonis out there pretty much nonstop. Definitely give me Zubats.
We've got Rui has checked in now, and Dante Exum back. And I was getting a little nervous because it was weird. It's like, why did Exum check out really quick? And but he's back on the court, so no worries there. He subbed in for Grant Williams, though. So it was not, believe it or not, they were not trying to stagger the minutes of their two star players.
Oh, so weird.
Luka Doncic. Not what
so
they're
weird.
doing. Slow start for Luka, by the way. 2 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, but we've only got 3.5 minutes left in the first quarter.
Well-rounded, and he can go ballistic in 5 seconds. He's only attempted one shot, so trying to get stars like Dante Exum and Tim Hardaway Jr. involved.
Let's see what we have here for the Richaun Holmes. That's a favorite player of ours, Richaun Holmes. We got a big history with him. We've got some players showing up in the flex spots here. So in the captain, we're primarily getting to the stars in this game, but in the flex, we're getting to Malik Monk a whole bunch. If we scroll down a little bit more, the stars, Sabonis, Fox, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I'm sure James Harden is going to be the next name there. Mm-hmm. Yes. And there's your guy, Ivica Zubats, Eric. He's showing up in 40% of lineups for us in the flex. Not all that much different from the field, but still somebody who's well represented in our lineups. Keep going down, Jordan. I want to see if there's anybody low owned. And it's hard to be that different on a 1-game NBA slate. But there's somebody, Norman Powell, who's only projected for 9% ownership, would they get into 16% of lineups. So that's somebody who we're differentiating with, as well as Russell Westbrook, 2% ownership. 12% of our lineups have Westbrook. So those are a couple of guys who are single-digit owned that you could diversify your lineups with: Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell. And there is a path for Russell Westbrook. Should somebody get into foul trouble, he'd be the guy that comes in. Right now, it's not something that they're really prioritizing getting him minutes because he doesn't fit in with the other stars on the team. But for a 1-game showdown setting, what do you think about Russell Westbrook? Only 2% projected ownership.
That's wild. I think it makes more sense on this one. So yesterday you had a really weird showdown slate. I'm not sure if you played Showdown yesterday, but the Clippers were the main featured showdown item for that evening as well. You had Portland that ruled out Ayton, ruled out Brogdon, and it would appear DK didn't care to change pricing, so you could do whatever you wanted to. Westbrook got to about 15-20% there. I think he still gets that artificial click and those artificial people that are going to play Westbrook. But he only played 16 minutes. He was extremely efficient, 5 for 7 from the field, 12 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds. I think they're just going to make him a high teens every single game guy. And that makes it so hard for me to want to click on it when there's this artificial ownership that comes in on Westbrook. Now, If I hadn't played yesterday, I wouldn't have this inkling, but like, I am pretty positive Russell Westbrook still reaches that 15-ish% ownership. And as such, I just want 0 of him tonight.
People are very happy with you in the chat right now, Eric.
What happened?
Not joking. Massive first quarter for your nuke of the night, Donovan Mitchell.
I'm very good at DFS. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell was very underrepresented. 11, 4, and 2 in the first quarter. Have I missed a nuke of a night this year? I don't think I have. I'm dead serious. I have been outrageous. Between the Bojan call, between the 60 spot from Julius Randle, I'm fucking good. You know what'd be nice is if I could win a gosh darn DFS tournament. I get second in the $4, and Greg wins every freaking weekend. So whatever.
But the nuke of the night, you're getting internet points. That's worth something.
Okay, that's chill. Yeah, no. Chicks dig the 13K
like,
followers.
Nuke of the night guy.
But here's the problem. You have more followers than me still. So nothing I do matters. Nothing I do matters. I am irrelevant. I don't matter. You don't even need to talk to me. I don't even know why you talk to me. Don't even ask me questions. I don't know shit.
That's a good point. Might as well just end the show. We're sponsored by Underdog around here. If you guys sign up at Underdog, you get access to the free square. Austin Eckler over 0.5 total yards. You get rushing yard, receiving yard. It could be any of those. And your first profit's going to pay out over on Underdog. Sign up using the link we have below. You're going to get to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. And if you guys haven't done it yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck, and don't listen to anything Eric says. As he told you himself, he's more or less worthless. Peace out.
Donovan Mitchell!